Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 140 of the ReelTok Podcast. We are just getting up there, which is insane. I feel like we say that every episode, but 140 just feels like crazy high. But thank you all for coming back. Thank you for checking out last week's episode. We did Thunderbolts last week. A little post end game collaborative ranking. George, I appreciate the yo in the bottom.
Tyler's not here. I have full control today.
Okay. Yeah, George has control, so we might get some insane stuff.
Shit.
I'm tired. All right, today we are doing a nice Star Wars episode. There's nothing coming out this week, at least that I cared to watch. Seth cared to watch. George, Tyler, anyone really cared to watch. So we'll be doing an OG Star Wars trilogy breakdown, run through, review
with.
Do you? I'll get there. Okay. But yeah, we're just doing the OG trilogy, and then at the end we'll do a nice collaborative draft of Glup Shittos in the OG trilogy.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice collaborative thing. We'll maybe do 15 or so.
Yeah, cool.
I didn't prepare the collaborative in the main style, but we'll do a collaborative draft of the OG trilogy Glup Shittos. So George has no clue what a Glup Shitto is. He is
I know now.
Lacking ball knowledge, but basically it's like a Dexter Jetster or a Max Rebo or a Orn Free Ta.
Yeah,
random.
You texted Orn Free. I asked what's a Glup Shitto, and you go like Orn Free Ta.
Like
and
me,
dude. I thought I was bugging out. I was like, no way. I was like, he's got to be so drunk right now.
That's one of the guys.
Seth, I feel like Orn Free Ta is deep in the ReelTok lore. Seth goes by Orn Free Ta in the Discord, and his background is Orn Free Ta. And every time Seth tweets me and my 10 favorite movies or me and my 10 favorite songs or something, he always tweets a picture of Orn Free Ta. The dude loves him.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I've kind of adopted him now. I actually have Cam. So this is one phone.
Yes, you have two phones. Fascinating.
I have a work phone and a personal phone.
I have Orn Free Ta. You like Kevin Gates, baby. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome that you have it on your work phone as well. That's real business means. That's real business right there.
Exactly.
But as always, shout out to our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Cody Whitney, Cole Beaver, and Christian Cintron. We appreciate the support a ton. We couldn't do it without y'all. Go check out the Patreon if you're not already a member. $5 a month to join the Discord and get exclusive access to all of our Patreon reviews. So we've done about 70 of those to this point, or 65, whatever number we're at. Just go check that out. Like I said, $5 to get everything. Basically, everything after that is just, hey, I really want to support ReelTok Podcast, and we accept that because, like we said, kind of the only reason we can all go to George's wedding, kind of the only reason we can keep sustaining this podcast is through the Patreon. So we really appreciate that. We're at about 230 Patreon members right now. If we get to 300, we'll do a 6-month, maybe a year AMC A-list membership giveaway to one of the Patreon members. I haven't talked that through
Canadian one because we've got some UK guys.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll do something for the UK fellas. I haven't talked to any of the guys, George, Seth, Tyler, about that yet. I just brought it up one day, and now we're making it official.
Now so it's in existence.
Yeah, now it's in existence. We need 70 more Patreon members, so it's a hard goal to reach. But like I said, it's $5 a month. Hopefully, doesn't financially end you. Never going to financially recover from this. But we do appreciate all the support. Go subscribe to the pod. I think maybe we'll also do an A-list or whatever is overseas giveaway if we hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Subscribe to the pod on YouTube. Tell a friend. A lot of riding on that because we'll do an in-person pod in New York. So we have to hit it by July 15th. We have to know.
We're gonna do it in person pod anyway. Let's just
all right, that's fair. That's fair. But July 15th, get us to 10,000. We'd greatly appreciate it. It's very hard to grow. People are like, how do you guys not have 10,000? You have so many followers on TikTok. TikTok's not real. TikTok is not real. Like YouTube is real. real sickos that want to join the community.
Someone once like did like the ratio of like TikTok followers to Instagram followers. Like for every 100,000 TikTok followers, it's like 500 Instagram followers.
I
some
consider
like absurdly low number.
If someone has 100K plus on Instagram, that to me is like 1 million on TikTok.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is weird, isn't it? It's weird.
100K on Instagram is so much more impressive than like our like 400, 300,000 on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm not even near there. So like it's just whatever. It's hard to grow on YouTube. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Like there's no algorithm to YouTube. There kind of is on YouTube Shorts, I guess, but like otherwise it's just people searching and people giving thumbs up, commenting, like that all helps. So comment down below to help us out. Rating us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify helps us out on those platforms. We appreciate it either way. So thank you if you have been doing that. Thank you if you have gotten a friend to subscribe. It's been 5 minutes of me just yapping. Tyler's not here, taking a mental health break. Tyler mentioned last week he's not loving his moving. So he's just taking a break this weekend, a much deserved break. And he wasn't able to watch the Star Wars trilogy, so he didn't want to, drag down the pod, even though he never could. But I understand that feeling. If you're not caught up, you sometimes don't want to hop on. But Tyler, hope you're doing well. Hope the move gets a little bit easier, man. Excited to see Tyler in the Eastern time zone in Texas, or are they Central? I don't know. Whatever time zone is Central. Texas.
Central for sure.
Central. Okay. Well, there we go. At least it's an hour behind rather than 3 hours behind. George and I. But we'll get into it. George, how have you been? What have you been watching?
I've been good. I've been chilling. We had like our yearly conference at work on Thursday, so like leading up to that is just hell and just very, very busy. So I came home this weekend for Mother's Day, and it's like a nice like unwinding kind of weekend after like a couple weeks of just grinding at work. That's kind of it. I have I was in the Poconos last weekend. That's why I wasn't on the pod. The Poconos. It's like a small, I guess, mountain range in Pennsylvania. It's like a big skiing town, I guess. I don't know. It was the first time I've been there. But yeah, it was cool. We got like this nice Airbnb for one of my buddies who's getting married in June. We golfed, we hung out. The Airbnb was crazy. It was huge. It was like indoor pool, indoor movie theater. Outdoor had like a massive patio, a fire pit, a pickleball court, basketball. So you put 15 guys in a massive Airbnb, give them some alcohol, and we're gonna have just a fucking blast for 3-4 days straight. So that was fun. While we were there, we obviously had to watch a movie on the big screen in the Airbnb. So it was probably like midnight, maybe even like 12:15, and we were all like drunk, but like tired drunk. So we all kind of were like, all right, let's stop the drinking games. Let's just relax. So we popped into the theater and threw on The Dark Knight on the big screen, and it was fucking sick. It was so. If you ever just want to have a good time, just throw The Dark Knight on the big screen with 15 of your homies sitting right next to you. It's just the coolest experience ever. So that was that's pretty much what I've been up to lately. Haven't been up to a whole lot. I'm trying to think if I like missed anything this weekend or this week, but not really. It's just it was busy work. So the next couple of weeks, the work should hopefully slow down. I have a friend's wedding next week, so there's a lot of preparations for that.
How many weddings do you have?
I know I have 9 weddings this year. One of them being my own. So it's very busy. And the first 3, the wedding next weekend, the wedding in June, and then July is my wedding. But the wedding next weekend and the wedding in June, I'm in. So it's like just additional work, which not bad. I love celebrating love. I love my friends. They're my best friends, and I'm excited for the weekend.
What do you mean you're in?
Like I'm a groomsman.
Oh, as in, okay, you're in
yeah. Like I'm a part of the wedding.
Yeah,
I'm not. Yeah. So it's nice. It's awesome. It's awesome that like all of my friends and then some of Victoria's friends are getting married this year. It's like a nice, just long year of love. But like we've wrapped up like bachelor party and bachelorette party season, and now we're getting into wedding season, which is exciting. So I won't be on the pod next week. I think you guys are doing the Final Destination episode next week.
Fuck me.
Yeah, I was just about
I'm
to
not
say.
watching those.
Yes, you are.
God damn it, Alex.
Cam, I
Let's vote
promise
this
you,
week.
you'll laugh. You'll laugh at those more than you'll be
How many
scared. Like,
Final Destinations are there?
Oh, they're not
they're-
scary,
no,
Cam. They're
they're
like,
six.
No, I'm not
You-
worried about them being scary. It's just unfortunately, it's like I don't think I could give less of a shit about it.
A lot of them are
new,
quite
the new
short.
one
How many
is the
are there?
Six.
a lot of them are quite short.
Ah,
I know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shit one is like an
no
hour
offense
long.
to this franchise, but yuck.
Yeah, you
This
don't.
is not my slop.
I promise you, I think you're gonna have a good time with them. I think you will find them at least funny. You're not gonna be scared of them. They're like, it's like, I don't know, they're gross and like gory, but like it's like funny.
Who
you
cares
know?
about that franchise? Comment down below. Tell me if you genuinely care
Bro,
about this
Final
franchise.
Destination's huge.
Yeah,
Ti-
Final Destination is massive.
I know. Tyler
huge.
keeps talking about it like he's like, I'm excited to watch these. Like, why? I don't get
It's
it.
huge. Have you not
It's
seen the
nuts.
interactions they get? Like when a trailer comes out, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is massive. Um,
Final Destination, my poop in the toilet. It's the final
Jesus.
destination it's going.
What else have I been watching? I rewatched Attack of the Clones.
Ah, George.
Seth, I'm sorry.
Good film.
I'm not going
Good
to
film.
talk about it in depth now because I know we're going to
Yeah, don't talk about it at all.
Yeah,
We're gonna
I
do a pod on it.
I won't talk about it at all. We're gonna do the individual trilogy episodes, but I wanted to. I really wanted to love it, and I approached this movie. I haven't seen it in a while, so I was like, let me clear my head of any negative thoughts I have of this movie and just rewatch it as if it's a first watch.
It's great.
Certainly aspects I loved, certainly aspects I enjoyed, but there's so much bad in that movie that I just can't get behind.
Hurts
And
my heart.
yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I gave it 2.5. It's more of a neutral rating than it is a negative.
Have you watched
rating.
Phantom Menace
Yeah,
recently?
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
No, not recently. I should rewatch Phantom Menace.
Okay. That'll be
I don't
interesting.
know.
I'll interest you.
Yeah, I don't know why I just randomly jumped into Attack of the Clones, honestly. But what else? Coyote Ugly. Victoria and I watched Coyote Ugly. So fun, really fun movie. It was one of those nights where I was like, all right, Victoria's turn to pick a movie, and she's like, oh, let's watch Coyote Ugly, and I was like, okay. And then like 10. It's a fun movie. It's basically about this like girl who moves from Jersey to New York City to pursue a songwriting career, and that career kind of like doesn't really work out as she wants it to. So she gets a job at a bar as a bartender, but the bar is like, she's a bartender / like bar dancer. I don't know the culture. But it's basically about like this girl trying to like find herself in New York while also trying to make money working at a bar. It's cool. It was really, honestly, it was genuinely like a really fun movie and genuinely like one of the best soundtracks from like a 2000s coming of age comedy film that I've ever heard. It was really fun. Victoria and I had a great time watching it. Killed a couple of Love, Death, and Robot episodes. Every so often when I just don't know what to watch, I'll throw one of those on. Zima Blue and The Very Pulse of the Machine. Love those episodes. I think they're fantastic. I had an awesome little like documentary day on Friday. I went to my office on Friday, which is usually empty. So I was able to pop into like a solo office and just kind of have a room to myself. So I watched Empire of Dreams, which, we'll reference as we kind of go through the original trilogy this episode. I watched Wick is Pain, the new John Wick documentary. That was sick. That was fucking awesome. It was more like the first it was around 2 hours. The first like hour, maybe like 45 minutes of the documentary was basically just about like Chad Stahelski and like his like experience in stunt choreography and action filmmaking and talking about his influences and his teachers and his instructors. And it was also like, as you jumped back and forth from Chad Stahelski, it also kept moving to the like beginning stages of filming and producing the first John Wick film. And basically the franchise almost never happened. They couldn't secure enough producers, enough funding. Keanu Reeves was kind of in the gutter after like 47 Ronin and another like bad film. So it was a very like we almost never had the John Wick franchise, which was kind of crazy to like watch this document. Stop. But yeah, John Wick's the GOAT. I have so much more appreciation for this franchise than I already did. I mean, you guys, I've been saying like I think this is the greatest action franchise. I've been saying it for a long time, but this documentary just kind of like amplified that. It was pretty unbelievable. And then I was just in a documentary kick, so I watched The Fire Rises, the creation and impact of the Dark Knight trilogy. Fun little like 70-minute documentary on YouTube that's just available for anyone to watch. Pretty cool.
Have you watched the Apocalypse Now one, George?
No, I haven't.
Bro, that is.
What's that? What's it called? I know what it's called.
A Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness. Yeah, no,
that
I've
is
not seen it.
Crazy, because the amount of shit that happened on set, you would love that. It's insane.
I'll check that out.
It's like 90 minutes as well, so it's a must watch for sure.
All right, I'll add that to the watch list. But yeah, The Fire Rises was cool. I mean, listen, I've been a Dark Knight trilogy fan for a long time. I've done my due diligence on this trilogy, so a lot of this wasn't like necessarily new information, but it was still cool to see it from like the perspective of like Chris Nolan and all the producers and, you know, some of the actors and actresses on set. I watched my old ass, the Aubrey Plaza movie from 2024, last year, 2024. Basically about this girl who does mushrooms on her 18th birthday and, you know, sees her 39-year-old self. Really cute movie, really tender movie. I love the dynamic between all of our characters. It's very like stereotypical, like coming of age type of movie. You know, it's not doing anything to like break that mold, but it's cute. And it had me tearing up like crazy in that like final 15 to 20 minutes. It really, really hit me. And then last night I watched Shaun of the Dead. Electric, just so fucking sick. We're going to talk about that on the Patreon on Friday. So if you're not a patron and you want to listen to us yap about Shaun of the Dead, check out the bio, check out the links in the bio below. But yeah, that's about it. That was my week or 2 weeks.
Seth, how have you been? How's your week?
Busy. I was meant to see Tom Cruise today. Rip. Can't see him. That's very, very sad.
It's kind of depressing.
I was meant to go to the Screen Talk today. He's doing a talk at the IMAX in London. But I have an early flight tomorrow, and I wouldn't have been able to get back by that time. Like the last train. Yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of prioritizing going away for a bit. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to get back in time anyway. Also, I'm taking my mum away, and it's like kind of a belated birthday present, I guess. So it's like I don't really care. But it's something that is really, really cool. They did like a marathon as well last night, like at the biggest screen in Europe, I think it is. They did like 4 of the Mission Impossible films as well. But I gave my ticket away last night. So that was kind of shit, but you know, is what it is. Going away this week. What have I done this week? Nothing. Work. Really, really busy. Like as we always say, when you go away, you kind of it's that thing where you're just kind of preparing everything for being away from a few days. So I had to do like probably a few more meetings this week. What have I watched? Star Wars has been the main thing. I didn't watch Return of the Jedi because that's one I've watched like fairly recently. I think I watched that like 3 months ago.
Oh, you would have raised it.
I did raise it 3 months ago. But yeah, you're probably right. You know, I'm on like a Star Wars high right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know you never had A New Hope at 5 stars. I thought you always had it at a 5. I don't know why.
How dare you spoil it?
Okay. Okay. Is this guy good or what?
Well, yeah, it's gone up over time. You know, I think like, the older I've got, the more I appreciate Star Wars. It's kind of what it is. Watched A New Hope and Empire last night. So obviously we'll cover that. I watched the Empire of Dreams documentary as well. I didn't even know we were going to watch that either. So it was kind of good time to watch that earlier this week. I watched Knowing. I don't know if you guys have seen it, like a post-apocalyptic film with
the Nick Cage movie.
Crazy, obscene. Watched Spider-Man 3.
Wait, is Knowing? Sorry to interrupt. Is Knowing the one where they like uncover the chest from the classroom from like 7? Okay, all right. Yeah,
it's the one that kind of deals with like basically him and
all the tragedies.
His like
the numbers
his
on the
wife
paper.
died. And he's trying to kind of understand whether things are coincidence versus like man-made and planted and creation. It's weird, but it's good. Like I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. I watched The Idiots, which is like a Lars von Trier film. Sorry, Cam, haven't got around to Andor yet, but I will. I
still need to start season 2.
Oh, George, you were.
I know. Stop. I'm so washed. It's like
franchise, damn it.
Wait, how many episodes come in the first season?
Franchises, damn it. There's 12 in each season.
Oh,
they do like 3-episode arcs.
Yeah.
Okay,
basically,
so
like 4 3-episode arcs throughout it, and so season 2 is like quite literally split into each week is 3 episodes.
I think I got up to like 6, so I've got a bit of a way to go. But
you got the best one coming.
Yeah, I have heard that. But yeah, it's kind of it for me this week. I haven't watched much else. few days of sun, then back to it, and then
where are you going again?
Barcelona.
Nice.
Send me that itinerary.
Hey,
send me the itinerary. I'll be there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to Greece, George. I wonder if you want to come with me. Me and you.
When are you going? When are you going there?
September, like the 18th or whatever.
Oh, dude, can we go to Venice Film Festival, please?
No, but can we go to Cannes Film Festival?
No, yeah, so apparently we just have to apply to Cannes Film Festival because
you do. I had a French guy.
Any film festival. I was looking at
yeah. So
I didn't realize like people were actually getting in. Like I've seen a lot of podcasts. We'll be there next year.
Let me get up his username. I had this guy message. Shout out this guy because he's like a French. He's like basically us, but the French version of us. And he messaged me like because I tweeted about Cannes about like getting in. Yeah,
does he do that?
He's like a French YouTuber, really nice guy. And he basically told me like it's actually really easy to get festival accreditation, but it's like the hard bit is the actual tickets. Like New York, like London, but fucking worse. Getting tickets is the like to the big releases is apparently just incredibly hard unless you've got pre-sale. But to actually get the festival access, it's really easy if you've got like a decent following. That's it.
I can go to the festival and just drink. I don't necessarily need tickets.
Easily.
I mean, Cannes is a lovely place, so
I'm sure. Like I've never been to Cannes. I thought it was Cane's forever. I thought it was like Raising Cane's, chicken nuggets.
So American. Yeah, we should go. We should apply next year or Venice. Or New York Film Festival.
I mean, I will be there.
Or you come to London.
Yeah.
All right. What festivals are we doing next year? We're doing Cannes Film Festival.
Cannes, London, New York, Venice.
And Venice.
Okay. Yeah. So can't go to all those. So let's maybe like pick two for Camo.
New York and Venice.
No, because New York's pointless because we're in New York like 2 months
prior.
Fake
state.
But New York is sick.
But we're in New York
Fake
2
state.
months prior.
All right. Then
also, George, you know what? George, do you know what I'm doing at the end of the month or start of next month? I am. Well, you're not going to guess.
Well, I want to guess.
Okay, go on then.
He might guess though.
You are going to go skydiving.
Ooh.
No, I am taking Sophie to the best independent.
BFI.
No, well, maybe BFI, but I'm going to take it to there's an independent one called Prince Charles. It's like probably the most known one in the UK.
Oh.
And it just every day has the craziest schedule on. Like it shows shit like Apocalypse Now, The Shining every single day.
Oh, yeah,
it's great.
sick.
So I'm going to take it there. So yeah, meeting Sophie, which will be cool.
Love it.
And yeah, that's kind of it. But yeah,
when are you doing that? Did you say?
June.
When are you doing that?
I'm doing that. Do you remember what I told you guys last year? I did that thing where I went to like a random potluck screening where it was all night at a cinema, and it was like random films. I'm doing that, but Sophie told me she's got a movie on that week.
What date though?
Like 7th of June, I think.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I thought you said end of the year. And I was like, well, you're meeting her before that because you'll be in.
Oh no, I mean like in like 3 weeks.
Okay, my bad. I thought you said end of the year. I misheard.
No, end of the month or something.
All right. Myself, I was on vacation this week. It was great. I was in Florida. We spent way too much money. I told Emma this, like, I don't know what my financial goals in life are, but I'd like to like go on a trip and not like cringe every time I swipe a card.
Does money exist to you when you're away though?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in crippling debt.
No, you know what I mean? It's like
it does after you spend money on like a flight and a hotel and you realize like that's so
no, that's already. When it exists though. When you're away, I feel like it's whatever, man. You just swipe that shit, you know?
No, I get that. I am in crippling debt right now, so each swipe hurt my heart a little bit more.
You have kids.
But we went to this very nice resort in Florida. Emma's mom was at a conference. It was like a conference center, so we got to tag along with her. And that went till Wednesday. And then on Wednesday was just like a half day. So on Wednesday we went to Universal Studios. And then on Thursday, yes, I got Voldemort.
Yes, that was my vote.
So the Elder Wand did win, but you know when like you flip a coin, like the idea that like you flip a coin and you get what you truly want. I wanted Voldemort. I'll get Elder Wand next time.
The Elder Wand is pretty sick.
Yeah, right. I'd love to. I would have loved to get both again, though. The swiping of the card hurt my soul.
How much are we talking for a wand?
It's really not horrible, or as bad as I thought. You can get much better ones, but the generic wands that they have in there are like $65, $70.
Yeah,
it's really not horrible. I thought it was going to be like $150, something like that, which you can get. The nice ones are like that, but this is just plastic display.
Are the other ones like real ones?
But they have like interactive things that you play with, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Like one of those lightsabers that's really cool.
Yeah,
I was considering getting one of them.
So like Universal throughout like the Wizarding world, so they have Diagon Alley, and then oh geez, I'm not even a true Potterhead. What's the other one?
Which one?
Right outside of Hogwarts, Hogsmeade. Hogsmeade.
Did you have any butterbeer? Does that exist?
I did have butterbeer. Yeah. I was hoping I thought you could get an alcoholic version. Man, I sound like a real boozer. I thought you could get an alcoholic version, but it's just
everyone probably thinks that. I thought that too when I thought that.
What is it then? Is it just like
it's like a butterscotch, like it's like a root beer float, but it's like butterscotch and vanilla as well. Really good, actually. I'm not a root beer float guy. Really
good. Says a root beer float to me, the English person. I have no idea what that means.
You don't know like you put root beer and like ice cream together, basically.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's. I'm not a fan of it. People really love it. Okay, I'm not personally into it, but people really love it. It's that general idea. But yeah, so went to Universal and Animal Kingdom at Disney. I wish we went to Hollywood Studios. So here's the issue. Before we were planning the trip, we were like, Bailey's not going to be able to do any rides. We need to do, and we only planned for Disney. Universal was quite literally, I went to the airport because before we didn't get a rental car when we were just staying at the hotel. But then on Wednesday, we got a rental car to drive to Disney, and we had to go to a different hotel for that, but that's a different part. So I went and got a rental car, and I went to the airport to pick it up. And at the airport, they of course have like shops and stuff set up for Universal specifically, and then for Disney specifically. But I walked through the Universal one. I'm like, damn, kind of wish we were going. So we just, on a whim, decided to go for a day to Universal, which was tons of fun. And again, we weren't planning the Disney trip around Bailey being able to ride any rides or even enjoy riding the rides because he's 2. I wouldn't really expect him to be into that. There are rides at Universal that minimum height is 36 inches and Bailey's like 37, like right on the dot, basically just above. So he got to ride like 5 different rides at Universal and was just in love with them. Like had the grandest time. There's one, most of them were very slow, very simple, but there was one, it was a Trolls theme ride. And it was actually like a real roller coaster. You go up, you go down, you go around a little bit, you go at a fairly, not super quick. It's for kids, but it was like a genuinely real ride. The other ones were like kind of interactive, like the ET ride. You go around, see like interactive stuff. He was in love with them, man. So we went to Animal Kingdom kind of expecting like we couldn't do rides, but we could get Animal Kingdom is basically a very large zoo. You have like a safari track. You can see all those, a bunch of animals. And so that was a lot of fun, but we would have definitely planned a different park if we knew like he could ride on some rides. But the difference is Universal's minimum height was 36 inches. Disney's was 38 inches, and Bailey was not able to get on the 38-inch rides, which sucks. So there were like 2 we couldn't go on, but we wanted to. But they were 38-inch.
Is that where the Epcot thing is? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so that's where like drinks.
We should do that.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I wanted to so bad, but again, just like being with
you and Bailey.
There's no way I could have a kid with me, like doing the drinking around the world. One, we were just hot as all hell. Like it's 95 degrees there, and the sun is just beaming on you. Right? It's like it was just hot as hell. So would have loved to do drink around the world. I will be back. I will drink around the world. Emma and I talked about it. She was a lot more into it than like she expected. just because, again, like Bailey had the best time mostly at Universal, but I think we, I always knew I'd like a Disney trip. She was kind of a little bit more hesitant of it because she's not into anything like that. But like seeing Bailey was very nice. Like he was loving it. He loved the characters. Yeah, so that was fun. But yeah, I will drink around the world. Animal Kingdom was cool. Got to see a bunch of different animals. They have like a very interactive like safari ride. You're just on a truck, but you go through like savannah and like you see lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! But just see a bunch of different cool animals. It was very cool, very fun. But definitely Universal was better, at least for the one day we had, because we got to go to both parks at Universal. Whereas Disney is like a train ride to each park. Universal is like it has a center point, and then it's got 3 walkways to their different parks. Their Epic Universe opens at the end of May. Would have been really cool to go to that and like go to the Super Mario World, because Bailey is like super into Mario, just because we play Mario Party a lot, and he just likes to watch and grab a controller and not actually play, but he thinks he's playing. But yeah, that would have been tons of fun. But it's all right. It was a really good trip. Really good time. I'm wearing the mouse. Got this cool like Nike like just clean the mouse hat. I was looking for something like this, and I'm a big fan. I got 2 hats. One was just like a generic Universal, and one was the mouse. And then Emma got a Jurassic World hat or a Jurassic Park hat, and then a Monsters University hat.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Pretty sick. Like we couldn't find them, and then like they just popped up on a part of the store we were at. And we're very much into Monsters University right now, so we got that. Otherwise, I watched Star Wars this week. Right, I was traveling, so basically just got around to the original trilogy and Empire of Dreams, which we're not going to talk about the documentary specifically, but we'll go into the fun tidbits that it mentions while we go through the trilogies. Please comment down below during this podcast, at the end of this podcast, like what you like about this run through of the original trilogy. I'm not going to go through it beat by beat, but I also want to dive into it a little bit, give some fun facts, give our opinions on things. But we will start with A New Hope, the original Star Wars, the first one ever. We're gonna give quick thoughts, and then we'll dive into it a little bit more. Seth,
spoiler warning for A New Hope.
Spoiler warning.
There is a plot twist in this original trilogy. If you didn't know.
Yes, he is a father. You are the father.
Disgusting.
Did you just say there is a father?
There is a father. There's not in the prequels, mind you.
There isn't in the prequels.
Yeah,
there's no father in the prequels.
There's no father.
So there's not a father. There is one in this trilogy. And I can't remember. Yes, there is a father in the sequels.
There is a father in the sequels.
Yeah, the sequels suck. Not a father in the prequels. But Seth, you just raised it to a 5-star. Talk A New Hope. What it means to you, why you enjoy it. Give your thoughts.
Yeah. Imagine I was like faking out.
Hell yeah.
Shit actually sucks.
So good, man.
That would suck.
It is just old school adventure. It's. I think that I mean, we'll talk about all of them, and there's things I love from all of them. But I think this one, I love the introduction to it all. Like every moment, every interaction in this film feels so singular. And what I love about Star Wars is, and we'll go on to this when it comes to Glup Shittos as well when we talk about that. Every character, like you remember interactions, you remember names, you remember details. Like A New Hope, for example, there are so many moments from the start to the end that just stick out to me. For example, even just when we get the first interaction with Luke, C-3PO, and R2-D2, and the hologram and stuff. I think that what George Lucas did so well with Star Wars is giving you something that excites you about expanding your knowledge and on the mythology. Like you just endlessly want to keep going, and there's so many little tidbits it flies at you where it doesn't get overwhelming, but it feels so vast. like similar to what I think Dune does so well in its film, especially the first one, where it gives you kind of contextual elements without just overburdening you with it silly, unneeded exposition. And what I love about Star Wars as well, like, shit is fucking like it's silly as well. Like it's really silly. And I think George Lucas, as a creator, as like a genius that he is, just has a real like fun element to it. Like we can go into the political elements of Star Wars, of which there are many, in terms of looking at it as a an oppressed state and the retributions, governmental retributions, whatever. And we can obviously discuss that. But it's just so like much fun simultaneously. When I was watching the New Hope on Friday, it's just such a joy. For example, one of the stupidest scenes that sticks out to me, which I said in my review, is when Chewbacca and R2 and C-3PO are playing like chess on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so fucking stupid. It reminds me of something like Spy Kids and stuff.
There's a line, like I can't recommend the Empire of Dreams. If you're a fan of this franchise and this trilogy, I can't recommend the Empire of Dreams documentary enough. But there's a line like towards the end of it where like this whole time in the documentary, they're talking about what like a mastermind George Lucas is and how he played the system and did everything right in order to get this made and get this, done how he wanted it done and without studio interaction and all this. And at the end of the documentary, it's basically like, and someone basically talks about like what I just said, how smart he is and how awesome this is. And he's like, and it was just fun. Like people just enjoyed this trilogy more than what they were getting at the time. Like it's just a fun time. So yeah, to your point, like it's not too serious, the original trilogy, which I love the serious stuff they do, but it's just a fun time and a good story.
I think it's like it's very, very serious, like thematically, but it's so silly. Like the introduction of so many people and the way it kind of flows, especially with take the stormtroopers and stuff. You have these real dark elements. Like for example, I think Darth Vader's the introduction to Darth Vader as a character, as a concept, like it's so fucking good. And you really get kind of the idea of as to how brutal he is as a character. And the first kind of scene where we I can't remember the guy's name, where he chokes the guy, and it's kind of the first time we see that power from him on the table. I can't remember his name.
I don't know his name. I don't know his name.
All these little moments add up. Like one of my favorite sequences in this is when Ben Kenobi, when he the timely Admiral Mahdi, yeah, the timely like interruption of him when he pulls down his hood and kind of reveals himself when he meets Luke for the first time. Just these small moments where so much care is taken to every character's introduction. And it doesn't matter whether it's Chewbacca, whether it's Obi-Wan, whether it's Luke's uncle. You get a real familial and communal sense between them. And obviously we're going to the back end of this as well. I think that the moment with, for example, Darth and Obi-Wan is so integral in terms of what it means. But when you look back at it after watching the prequels, like it all kind of adds up, makes so much sense. Which I know everyone doesn't like a lot of people don't like the prequels, and that's fine. But I think on a narrative standpoint, for me, it just works so well in terms of how they release them. But yeah, A New Hope for me is it's a perfect film. It's it's my favorite it's my favorite Star Wars film. Yeah, it's my favorite Star Wars film for sure. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love loads of them, but I think it's more contained, and I just love the introduction to the world. And like the first half where we just basically spend a lot of it with Luke and his uncle and his auntie and stuff. The binary sunset scene, by the way, I tweeted the other day, is probably my favorite Star Wars moment of any. That so moment good, when the score hits is like,
I was gonna ask, when's the tattoo coming?
Soon, bro. Soon. I might have to go on.
That'd be a nice tattoo.
True. That moment when the score hits, it's
so good,
and you just kind of get the emphasis on how like vast the landscape is and how far it goes, and Luke almost just looking out to see what's out there. It's one of the best sort of like singular sequences I've ever seen. It's so fucking good. And to go on to like the silly parts, for example, when we enter the bar for the first time, and there's just a bunch of fucking freaks come into the shop. Yeah. And like it's so ridiculous.
Are those the Glup Shittos?
Well, yeah, I mean,
those are the Glup Shittos.
Essentially, is anyone who is a background character that people have kind of made into this mythological figure. Essentially, that's kind of what it is. I love that because obviously the showcases, you've got diversity and people from different walks of life and how they're oppressed and blah 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 and whatever, but the way that they are created and the way that they look, like the first guy that when Luke, or is it Luke or Han, has the argument with him at the bar? I can't remember which one was.
Han. Oh, the one where
which
Luke,
one?
The bartender is
like, I don't like you.
Yeah, I don't like you, guy. Yeah.
That is what's his name? Panda Baba and Dr. Evazan.
George,
they're Glup Shittos. They all have names and they all have lore.
And they all have.
I can't wait to teach George about Star Wars.
They all have incredible names. George Lucas is a fucking. Wait until you meet Porkins, George. As long as
he's a nut job, man. He's a nut job. He's got a background for every character. If you like,
it's amazing. It's amazing. Like it's so fucking. There's literally lore into. Like you can go on. I did it before because when I was creating my Glup Shittos list, there's Wikipedia for every single character.
Oh yeah.
Like not Wikipedia, like whatever Star Wars
Wiki. It's like
Star Wars Wiki. Yeah. For everything, and there's so much care taken to these people, and even though they're so seemingly inconsequential, it means so much. And yeah, I mean to finish, I love the camaraderie between. Leia, Han, Luke, Chewbacca is like one of my guys. C-3PO, I love. R2-D2. I just love it, especially when they're on the ship. I just love that feeling between them. Like, set aside just the big moments, and the big moments are fucking incredible, like with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, like the binary sunset. Those small moments of them just on the ship or in the bar, the first time they interact, it's just amazing. I think it's a perfect film, and it's, as Cam tweeted, it's gone up for me from a 4 in 2022 to a 4.5 last year, and now a 5.
To a 5. The binary sunset did it for you this time around?
Maybe. Shit is so good.
Bro saw 2 moons of Luke standing there and was like, that is cinema.
True.
George, your thoughts on quick thoughts on A New Hope?
Yeah, I mean, more or less exactly what Seth said. I love this film. I think it's a perfect origin. And you guys know how much of a sucker I am for origin stories. There's so much. I go back, and Seth even mentioned Dune. You go back and watch Dune Part 1, and you could just see Star Wars and New Hope influence just painted all over the screen. Like, it really is like, it's a slower paced film if you're comparing it to that of like Empire and Revenge and Return of the Jedi, but it's so it moves so beautifully in its origin. It's such a beautiful 3-act structure from introduction to the world and an introduction to Luke and Vader and Kenobi, moving into that second act aboard the Millennium Falcon, rescuing Princess Leia, and then into the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which then takes us into that third act, which is just the entire assault on the Death Star. It's just such a beautifully structured film, and I absolutely love it. I love that, and I'm really happy that you got me to watch Empire of Dreams, Cam, because that really was a fantastic documentary. I love that the documentary was basically George Lucas was basically like, there's nothing particularly special here. It's a typical hero's journey. You have the typical good bad. You have the typical old wise mentor. You have your trio of friends.
That's one of my favorite. Sorry to interrupt. That's one of my favorite.
No, you're good.
The old mentor.
Yeah, the old mentor.
The mentoring relationship. I love that.
Yeah, so and I love that George Lucas, he doesn't shy away from basically saying if you dissect and break down Star Wars to its most bare bones, it's really not the most creative or intricate thing, but what's incredible is the way that George Lucas kind of brings this, narrative trope to life. The character dynamics are absolutely incredible between Luke and Leia and Han and Obi-Wan. And then even everything with Vader inside the Death Star and the way he kind of moves back and forth with his admirals. And then you have C-3PO and R2-D2, a little bit of comic relief. And they're just so, they're so lovable and they're so charming, and it's so easy to just fall in love with these characters, And then you have, another thing that George Lucas obviously not even outside of the documentary, he always just talks about it. But, these movies have so much obviously political and philosophical undertones that if you just continue to just strip them away, like there's so much to learn from these movies. So it's like, yeah, you take something so, I guess basic. I hate to like call Star Wars basic, but you take something as basic as like a hero's journey with a big bad and comic relief characters, and you put George Lucas behind it, and you kind of like give him just free reins to do anything. It turned out fantastic. It really is beautiful. I love the world building. I love the lore. I'm a big world building merchant, and I think the world of Star Wars truly is just one of the greatest ever built. The Empire of Dreams documentary, kind of did the same thing for Star Wars that like Wick is Dead did for John Wick for me, where I just have so much.
Jesus.
Come on. They're documentaries and it's good. Watch it. But no, I have so much more appreciation for the OG trilogy because of that documentary. Just watching how, first of all, I'm surprised no one died on the sets of these movies. Like, it's actually unbelievable. They're talking about people having panic attacks. George Lucas literally had to go to the hospital because he was too stressed out and he was exhausted. The way they designed all of their practical effects, all of their miniatures, it's unbelievable. The time.
I love the miniature usage.
Yeah, the miniature.
So cool.
The massive miniature of the Death Star that they showed, that was insane. Like, dude, that thing was huge, like unbelievably massive. So I love like the design. I love the care that went into the production of these movies. I love that there was so much uncertainty when they were filming A New Hope. Everyone was like, yeah, this shit sucks. Like, this is going to be a flop. And it just turns out to be one of, if not the best science fiction film ever. You can go beyond filmmaking and talk about its cultural impact.
Do you consider it sci-fi? Just a random question.
Sci-fi, space opera. Yeah, sci-fi.
Space opera, I don't think is a space opera. Is obviously
I mean, it's fine, but I was just like fancy in my rankings,
It's fantasy.
Yeah, if I were to rank Star Wars among any genre, it would be sci-fi first before like fantasy or whatever, drama or whatever. But yeah, it'd be comedy. I mean, listen, it's a funny movie, but I love A New Hope. I really do. I love this whole trilogy. It's so beautiful. It's such like an insane display of craftsmanship that I absolutely adore, and just it kind of takes my admiration for this trilogy just to the next level. Beautiful. I took so many notes from this from the documentary, so I'm trying to like
George cover your mic.
What?
Mike.
You covered your mic.
And on mic.
Oh fuck! Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you. It just gets muffled.
Oh, okay. I was like holding it.
While you pull those notes up, basically, I'm not going to go into like A New Hope, just general thoughts too much because you guys covered it. I love this. I think it's a fantastic Star Wars movie. For a little bit of my life, it was a 4.5, but it's gone up to a 5. It's not my favorite Star Wars. We'll talk that with Empire Strikes Back, but it's definitely my second favorite Star Wars. Just the scene setting of the franchise is done so well. You start off with the villain. You don't meet your hero until like 15 minutes in. You don't meet Han and Chewie until like 45 minutes in. But like they're all given. So that to me just shows like you meet Leia immediately, but that just shows to me like they take time with these characters and give you setups for all of them, and like you don't really need the backstory.
Well. Like consider like how long
2 hours 15 minutes
blockbusters are now. I don't think it's that. Like it's a pretty decent length as well, and it fits so much into it. It's really impressive.
Definitely. So just this idea that they've given all these characters their times, and you don't need the full backstory of Han Solo per se. You dive into it. Just he's this badass, like he's this swashbuckler as they describe him, like guy who's the cool guy of the group, and everyone loves him. But you get the backstory on Luke, and you get the mystery of who his father is and who he is. That sort of thing. You get the Darth Vader introduction of just this like menacing villain. You don't even get introduced to the Emperor. They just talk about him. But you don't get introduced to the Emperor until Empire Strikes Back. But you don't even really, get the Empire in Empire Strikes Back. You just get a hologram of him. So it's just like this secondary villain almost that's in the background. That's very cool to see. and then just something you wouldn't see nowadays. And I think they really tried something with the sequel trilogy. We'll go into it. They tried it with see, this is my problem. What's his name? It's played by Andy Serkis. It's weird face guy. Someone help me out. See, this is the problem. I want to forget
too many names in Star Wars.
Exactly. There's a lot of names, but he's
what
also
is he?
the main.
It's gonna annoy me. What's his name?
Yeah, wait. This is bad. We should know this. Hold on. Don't tell me.
Okay, I found him, but I won't say anything.
Dude, how am I forget? I know. I see him in my head. I see him.
Time's up, George. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's Supreme Leader Snoke.
They
tried that. Like they give the same like intro almost in The Force Awakens, and then bring them in the Last Jedi, and then try to like pull the rug out, and then they just obviously fail in the third movie. But we'll talk that whenever we get to the sequel trilogy. I think it's interesting, like having that main villain not appear really till your third movie of the trilogy is a fascinating way to go about it. But yeah, I love this franchise. I love this universe that George Lucas has set, and like I give George Lucas a lot of shit because he's a big jackass with a lot of the things he does and the changes he makes. And we'll talk a bunch of the changes. This is not the original version of the film. If you watched it on like Disney Plus, it's not even close to the original version. I think everyone knows that. The original version obviously would not look as good as the remastered does. But like George Lucas just, gets in his head and has to change everything. And, they go into that in the documentary a little bit. But like he really does care, and you see that with all the Glup Shittos that he's put into this universe. Every single one has a backstory, has a connection to the franchise, has does it have force powers or does it not, kind of thing. Like it's
kind of insane.
It's really stupid shit that does not matter, but it also shows like George Lucas really cares. And now you'll get the same thing. But it's not from someone caring. It's from someone being like, well, it's always been this way. We have to give this random character in the background a backstory. Whereas George Lucas was just like, he's created this universe, and he's like, well, this character standing here, he's this person, or she's done this in her past life. We'll talk about it with like Snai Snoodles when we get to Return of the Jedi. But they all have stupid backgrounds. They all have.
I love the idea that like George Lucas like made Star Wars. He filmed the movie, right? He filmed A New Hope, and none of the background characters had names. And he's like mid-20s, and he's like, yo, let me grab some of my homies. Let's sit down. Let's get drunk. Let's get high. Let's watch these.
There's no way he wasn't high when he named.
And let's just randomly start naming background characters, and we'll just randomly talk about their
names. Are so silly, buddy.
Yeah, the names are absurd. I think he I think he just had this off the dome because like he had so much invested in it. He basically George Lucas basically wrote out the first three films as his Star Wars. That's what the original plan was. His story was all three movies.
Yeah.
And when he's pitching it, he says like the script got way away from him. He wrote 200 pages. So he basically cut it into thirds. So he had this one movie plan, but it got so in depth and it got so away from him that he had to cut it into thirds, and it ultimately became the trilogy that we know today. And with the first movie, he was obviously pitching it to studios. He had a friend on the board of Warner Brothers was Alan Ladd Jr., who was like the creative head of of Fox at the time. He was the creative head at Fox. And basically like gave George the opportunity. But when George was crafting this trilogy, he did not want to be a part of the corporate wheel, so to speak. So basically like Star Wars is very much an indie project, or started as an indie project. He wanted to make his movies. He had I forget which movie it is. His first movie that came out.
Was it American Graffiti, or was that
not American Graffiti? His movie before that.
Oh,
yeah. Basically,
I need to watch that. It looks cool. Actually,
in my notes, I wrote I basically like George Lucas's first film, THX 1138, experimental, flopped big time. I've seen the movie. It is like true, like. And I don't mean this in like a derogatory way. Like it is true, like film school student experimental type film. It is a very interesting watch. And then basically to kind of redeem himself, he was like, okay, let me make American Graffiti. Let me make something that'll like appease the public, something that'll be more accessible to a wide range of audience. And I wrote in my notes, is George Lucas a sellout because of this?
He is. But he does talk about like how he hated VHX because it got just manhandled by the studio.
Yeah.
He had no rights to his film. They changed everything.
Yeah.
He hated that about the studio and about going through the studio system, but he obviously didn't have any money. He didn't, have any, say or pull in the movie universe. He was just or in the studio universe. He was just kind of a cog in the wheel, right? So he goes to Fox with the idea of Star Wars, and then also brings them American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And he basically says, you guys can have the one movie. I want all the marketing rights. I want the rights to the second two movies. And they have no real reason to deny it. Obviously, like studios now they're just slop hungry monkeys that are, they know they can make a bunch of money if they market this movie well, or if they do this properly. But like at the time, George mentions like a hit sci-fi movie. He describes it as a sci-fi. So I guess that's the way we can describe it. But a hit sci-fi movie at the time was like 2001: A Space Odyssey, made basically 25 million domestically, 50 million worldwide. And then
the Planet of the Apes movies made even less. They were like around
15, they made like 10, 15 million. Yeah. And then he was like, his expectation was like to make his money back at about 8 million. That was the original budget. He's like, I have no reason to believe it won't. But his expectation was the studio won't market it well. The studio won't do, the proper merchandising for the characters and things like that.
Big merch guy.
Yeah, he says like that's where he wants his rights. He wants to keep all of the merchandising and all of the marketing for the film. He owns the rights to the characters, that sort of thing. And so he gets that.
In Empire Dreams, I love when Lucas was basically like, this was the first of its kind to like, we sold the movie, like not in a traditional sense, but we gave people like this outlet to like feel like they are part of this universe and feel like they can like truly like attach themselves to these characters and these stories. And the way he worded that, where he goes like, I don't know exactly what he said, but he worded in like we sold the movie. And I was like, that's a great way to put it. Cause like, you didn't like just sell tickets. You truly like sold the experience of Star Wars, which is like, like you said, Cam, like this is an indie project in 1977. So to sell an indie project, this science fiction film, which, at the time, 1977 science fiction wasn't maybe like the biggest genre. You're looking at your Westerns and your horror movies of the 70s. But like selling the movie is like, it's unbelievable. Like the documentary basically starts with, so I think it was one of the producers. They were like, Vietnam, Watergate, Star Wars, like that's the level of like importance and impact that like this trilogy has. Like we're going to put it among one of the most important historical events in history, because the way this movie like changed the game, changed merchandising, changed marketing, changed big slop IP. Like it's crazy. It's unbelievable the way they like merchandised this movie and turned it into like an experience rather than just like a film.
Yeah. Yeah, and he obviously knew what he had. He was kind of the only person at the time that knew what he had. They talk about how like everything back then was like anti-heroes and dark and depressing. Like if you watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, like it's not an upbeat film by any means. Like those sort of movies were coming out and were very popular, and people were in this depression era. And then he wanted something more of the Buck Rogers, more of the I forget what other character they mentioned, but the upbeat, go get 'em attitude person that wants to make a difference in the world almost. But basically, so he got his $8 million budget from Fox. He's got to go through casting, and it's interesting. He casts with Brian De Palma for Carrie. So they kind of did casting at the time. It's interesting the way like George Lucas, like I think of George Lucas as this big like goof who made Star Wars, but like when he's talking about it, he's like great friends with De Palma. He's great friends with Spielberg. He's great friends with
Coppola,
Coppola, and many other like massive directors. Right, like he's very much in this universe. He built this.
They put George Lucas, and I'm sure it's just like the territory with the documentary. It's about George Lucas. They're going to put him on a pedestal, but they made it seem like George Lucas is like. I mean, he probably is, but like they basically were like, this man is like the god of modern filmmaking. Like he's the reason why
he revolutionized.
He's the reason why we have a Scorsese, why we have a De Palma, why we have a Coppola. Like he's the reason that these filmmakers like were able to like come out of college and start like putting their ideas to screen. It was like it's crazy the way they talked about George Lucas.
Well, I think it's not even just George Lucas as a filmmaker; it's him as a genius, essentially, in the way that he handled studios at the start. And I think it changed the game in terms of the marketing, like Cam said, especially when it comes to like sci-fi or fantasy, whatever you want to call it. They went about it very differently, and the success it had was kind of foundational for George Lucas and the way he spun it. So he was kind of like of that era. He probably projected onto a lot of filmmakers in terms of inspiring them. Because I mean, when did A New Hope come out? Was that 77? Was A New Hope?
77.
Yeah, 77.
Yeah, I mean, like same sort of period as Spielberg, and like you said, he obviously Indiana Jones worked on those as well with Spielberg. Huge influence, huge maker from them. And I think almost people discredit Lucas now because people like see him as just a director of. Did he do all the prequels?
Yeah.
Yes. Like the director of the prequels, and I kind of like shouldn't his name, whatever. But the guy is like. He's genius. Like he is
a very smart businessman. Like so in order to get the creative process for Star Wars going, he founded ILM. Help me out, Light and Magic, Interactive Light and Magic, Industrial Light Magic. Thank you. So he founded ILM basically to get these get Star Wars made. He founded ILM in order to get the proper amount of CGI and computer generation that he needed for his film. They built computers, they built cameras for this, like, which is just fascinating, to think about. Obviously, us being young, like we've never, experienced anything like that. But he basically took a bunch of TV editors that he knew and had like 10 guys start ILM. They created a ton of models. They created a ton of background images. They used the blue screen in order to put those all in. But they basically were just like 10 guys in a warehouse working on this movie. And like I said, they built these computers that had never been made. They built these cameras that had never been used. And so when he founded ILM, it was in order to make his movies, because he knew the modern technology that they had at the time was not enough for him. So he creates this company to make this movie, basically, and then he has Lucasfilm as well in order to produce this movie as well on top of obviously the investment from the studio. But then he gets his cast, he gets his creators. It's worth noting. I think this is probably one of the most known like fun facts, but it was originally Luke Starkiller what the name of the character was. Changed obviously to Luke Skywalker in the franchise. So he gets into A New Hope. He starts making his movie, cast Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and then Harrison Ford in the main three. It was interesting to see Harrison Ford had worked with George Lucas on American Graffiti. George didn't want a name that people knew, so he wasn't really able to audition for the role. He basically is seen in the documentary reading lines and feeding lines to the actors who are auditioning. And then George Lucas just decided, well, you're doing it perfectly. We want you to be Han Solo. Like he knew exactly what he wanted, and he worked well with Harrison Ford. So that's how Harrison Ford got the role. But you see Kurt Russell auditions, a couple other big names.
Walken, Burt Reynolds,
Christopher Walken.
Sylvester Stallone.
A bunch of names that I can't remember exactly, but you see these audition tapes. It's just interesting to see, like, people were auditioning for this, and obviously Carrie as well. But and people were really wanting to be in this franchise, and not really knowing exactly where it would go. But it, skyrocketed Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Han Solo, or sorry, Harrison Ford to heights that haven't really been seen in Hollywood just yet. So they're producing the movie. Obviously, A New Hope is that first third that George came up with. It's very funny. They're filming the movie. David Prowse is who's playing Darth Vader, and he says he needs a tall person. He needs a very demanding person in that suit. And you see like David Prowse is in the suit. He's reading every line to Carrie Fisher. He really thinks his voice is going to be used for Darth Vader. And there's like a snip of a producer behind the scenes. He's like, yeah, I can hear it still to this day of like his weird Scottish accent in the background or his Irish accent in that suit. And it just didn't work. So, I feel bad for my man, David Prowse, like really just wanted to be a part of this, this franchise.
Really thought he had that.
Yeah. And obviously he still got to play like Darth Vader in the suit. But
same with Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. Like he was reading lines, like so that the character.
But Peter Mayhew does voice Chewbacca a little bit, or not voice, but he does like the like he does the Wookiee sounds, and then they use like animal voices. But at least he knew,
the behind the scenes of like him actually reading lines and like Han talking to Chewbacca like a human. Like that was funny as fuck because I was like, wait a second, was that like the original? Like was Chewbacca supposed to talk normally, and then they just changed it? But it was for the actors around them to be able to like act alongside him.
And that's just very funny.
The storyboards before we move on from industrial light and magic. The storyboards, I love storyboards, man. I love I have so many like storyboard books in my apartment for like Spider-Verse and Avatar: The Last Airbender and like Oppenheimer and Dune and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I love storyboards and seeing like. We'll get onto Empire Strikes Back, but like the first one that came to mind was like the original like construct of what like Yoda was going to look like. The initial construct of what the Millennium Falcon was going to look like, or the X-Wings were going to look like. I believe his name was Joe Johnson, who worked with George Lucas in Industrial Light and Magic, was one of the storyboard artists, and he kind of came up with like the early concepts for the Millennium Falcon and the X-Wings. And a bunch of other like fighter ships, and it was cool. It's so cool watching it go from like early drafts, early constructs, and this documentary does such a good job at like showing you like the process of like getting these storyboards to where they want to be, getting like the designs of Yoda and the Millennium Falcon to where they want to be. But also, and then the documentary also mentions Ralph McQuarrie, who did I guess the designs and the initial artwork for the miniatures, which was kind of fucking sick, but also did a lot of the storyboard art. Go.
Ralph McQuarrie basically like George Lucas went to the studio with basically 20 pages of, hey, this is Star Wars, this is the general idea, but he knew like I'm not going to get anything for this, so he hires Ralph McQuarrie to do these drawings and storyboards, like George said, of like the fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. And obviously like it's not perfect, but he draws this giant landscape, and they have this idea of like, yes, we're going to draw R2-D2 and C-3PO in this, but what you need is that big booming landscape of Tatooine and of right behind them exactly of the Sandwalker, like different things like that. And that's kind of what sold the studio and had Alan Ladd Jr. kind of pushing for them to get in on this movie franchise as early as possible, because like he had these big pictures with it. It's very interesting to see, like, obviously at the time he couldn't be like, this is what it is, it's going to do insane numbers. Like he didn't know it was going to do insane numbers, but it's still the idea of, I have these big pictures. Let's make this happen. Like, this is what it's going to look like, or this is the general design.
It's so funny since we're just still on like, no one knew how big Star Wars was going to be, but it's so crazy, like watching throughout the entire documentary, throughout A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, every single movie, every single thing they wanted to do, someone made a comment that was basically like, if this fails, the movie fails. And it's like, how many of those instances could you possibly have in the production of a movie? Like, they had to strike, gold a million times for each movie, and they did, and it was unbelievable. And like the way they were talking about, like, the Death Star attack in A New Hope, or I Am Your Father in Empire Strikes Back, or the introduction of the Wookiees in Return of the Jedi. They were like, if this doesn't work, the movie fails. And it's crazy because everything works, and the movies succeeded. And even when you're watching the documentary as they get to that date in 1977 where the movie's released, everyone's like, they're gonna suck. Like, no one's gonna like this. No one's gonna enjoy this movie. This is gonna be a major failure. And it turns out to be one of the most successful science fiction films at that time, which is just crazy.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see. So they had a million hiccups as well. They got the $8 million budget, and they had to be done by this date. It was supposed to be a Christmas release of 1976. Very clearly went over budget, went over production time. They mentioned like how crazy it was that the studio was saying you need to have this done by this date. So they used more money to work with 2 or 3 crews, which cost more money rather than just doing one crew for 2 weeks. Instead, they basically went over budget on crews, but because the studio wanted it out before this date. So yeah, George mentions George Lucas went to hospital because he had heart problems. He thought he was having a heart attack. It was basically he just had exhaustion, and then heart,
literally just exhaustion,
fluttering or something. But yeah, he was exhausted. Been working up to his neck on this thing. He mentions like even once the filming got done, he was unable to take a break. He needs to go into an editing process, and his editor wasn't editing the movie how he wanted. He would do a cut and be like, hey, this is how I want it. The editor wouldn't see eye to eye, so he had to fire his editor, and then had to do a lot of the editing. I can't remember, does he hire Spielberg's wife to do the editing of it afterwards?
Yeah,
he hires Spielberg's wife, if I'm not mistaken, to do the editing in a way that he prefers. So it was hell getting this movie made. But I think it's very funny they mentioned like also everything that they're watching and going through, they are doing without a score, which if you thought like watching Star Wars without a score would work, I don't think I can't imagine watching it without a score. And they mentioned like the only thing that went right in this movie is the score works. So like it was perfect, basically. Like George Lucas met with John Williams to talk about it, and then he came back. John Williams had the score done. And he's like, "This is perfect. This makes the movie." And so, shout out Johnny Williams, who he was credited at the time of like, he just come off Jaws. He was friends with Spielberg. Obviously, he just won an Oscar for Jaws. And so, that's how George Lucas got him in. Is he knew him from that. And it's funny, yeah, he was going by Johnny Williams at the time, but. Yeah, right. Should still go by Johnny Williams.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very funny that everything in this production went horribly, and then he was like, then listen to the score, and it was perfect. No changes, no notes. They did an amazing job. So now you can start like the feeling of the movie is coming together at the very least from the production. They got put in 40 theaters, which is just insane. Like, a big franchise movie, thinking about that now, getting put in 40 theaters is crazy. But George Lucas had to do all the marketing by himself, like we mentioned. He had a novelization of the movie created to send to people into theaters as to like explain what's going on in the movie. So basically a comic book of the original movie was made to promote it more. He had storybooks made for theaters, basically going through Han Solo's character, Luke Skywalker's character, Queen Amidala's character, or Padme. Sorry, I am so sorry. Princess Leia's character. I am way off on my movies. Princess Leia's character. Like, they had all of these storybooks created to explain these characters, who they were, and it still only got put out in 40 theaters originally. And then
even and the screenplay, like graphic novelization of Star Wars, the doc said that it sold 500,000 copies, sold out 500,000 copies, which is still crazy. You sell that much and you don't put your movie in more theaters, but again, it was an indie film at the time.
I think that was after it released, though.
Oh, they were
500,000.
Yeah, it was.
Like it was after it released. Like after it released, obviously it was big. Yeah, everyone loved it. But that was after it released is when it sold that 500,000. It's funny to watch. Like also, like everyone kind of hated George on set. Like obviously he's the director. He cares a lot, right? Like he wants it made his way. He knows what he wants, and everyone kind of thought it was a kids movie. First off, everyone thought it was silly. Everyone didn't really understand it. Didn't know exactly what was happening. So he's explaining all of these things, and they went through the Force. And it's funny now, like we use kyber crystals as that's what like kind of runs a lightsaber. Almost every lightsaber has like a kyber crystal in it. And it's funny, like that's how the Force started. So it's interesting to see like how his original designs have kind of been turned into like new lore a bit. But no one really understood the Force. No one really understood what was happening. So they like Mark Hamill basically says they kept trying to get him to laugh and he was just not like having it. They kind of thought he was like uptight and was just annoying about everything. So it's funny that like, obviously, to make this kind of production and make this movie, you have to really know your vision and exactly what you want. Right. So it's good that he held true to himself and good he knew what he had, because otherwise, if anyone else is making this movie, if I were making this movie, I'd probably give up and be like, this sucks. I can't do this. Right. So yeah, everyone just kind of hated George a little bit during the production, and I can't imagine that helps you. He says that he had to go into ILM like 2 times a week because the miniatures that they were creating and the shots they were creating didn't work for him. He was like, after they spent half their budget, he had 4 shots and he didn't even like those 4 shots. So he went into ILM 2 times a week. He did shooting 3 times a week or whatever the math adds up to. So he was going back and forth all the time, and that's kind of what led to his exhaustion and hospital visit. But it's just very interesting to see how it gets made. And then obviously like it releases to rave reviews. It releases and all of the like worry is kind of gone. The special effects artists of ILM were saying like people were coming up to them and asking for their autographs, and they're like, well, why are you asking for my autograph? Like, I'm just, I just design props in the set. And like, that's how big it got, is people were like loving all aspects of this movie. It was different at the time. So like the first movie releases, A New Hope releases, does really well. It doubled the Fox stock. I forget exactly like how much it made. It made well over 100 million, which was unheard of at the time. It doubled the Fox stock. So obviously like, it does very well. And then George Lucas becomes this multi-millionaire, is able to fund his second movie because of the merchandising. Like it's the first time like people bought action figures for these. Mark Hamill mentions like being on bubblegum cards, not thinking that was even possible. He's like, I thought you had to be a famous athlete to be on bubblegum cards, but like George Lucas marketed it like crazy. And that's kind of that's probably like the first 2/3 of the documentary, because obviously they have much less hiccups in the second and third movie. Like everyone knows they're going to be a fairly large hit, or you assume it'll be a large hit. They still have hiccups, but that's kind of like the first 2/3 of the documentary. Back to like A New Hope movie as on its own. I think it's just very interesting to like see all the different worlds that they go to, and they make note like in A New Hope, you see all these like singular shots of ships, because that's kind of what the technology allowed. And I know like you get a TIE fighter scene where a bunch of TIE fighters are going to fight the Death Star. That was added in the 1997 re-release, or whatever year it was that he re-released all these movies. But a lot of the shots you see are just singular shots of ships, because that's what they could do, right? And so I think that's very interesting. But I just really love A New Hope and the Star Wars franchise itself. I have fun, stupid things about A New Hope. I've been talking a lot though.
No, I
do you
love
guys
hearing
have
you talk
anything?
about Star Wars, dude.
I love Star Wars.
Just keep going.
So I find it very funny in A New Hope when so basically Luke's father and mother are obviously dead, right? He's living with his aunt and uncle, and he's been living with them ever since he was a kid. They die within the first hour of the film.
Like, I'd say even less, honestly, like 40, 30 minutes, maybe.
It is the first hour. That's
Is
that guy. Yeah, he doesn't meet Han Solo until like 45. Right? Or no, okay, no, you're right.
No, so
right.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Okay, you got me. My bad. You're right, because they die and then he goes and then he wants to go. Yeah, because he finds Ben, realizes that the stormtroopers came, they burn them to a crisp. Kill off his father and mother figure very quickly. And so like then he just kind of turns around, he's like, I want to join the rebellion. So they go and he just brushes that off, and then his new father figure, Ben, dies like an hour after that, and Han Solo's just like, "Hey, we gotta get going, buddy. You need to brush this one off." So Luke doesn't have his parents, shaken up from that. Aunt and uncle dead. Father figure that he's found dead. So my man is in the pits, but they are just like, shake this off. It's a kids movie. You can. We're just.
I was gonna say he's really good at coping with loss. He's just zero worry.
Too good.
This is not in the Glup Shittos realm, but George, that you may or may not know this. Basically, there is a fan theory that the original R2 unit that Owen and Luke were gonna buy has the Force. And knew that R2D2 needed to be the one to go to Luke or something. So like he burns himself up. And that's why that is a fan theory that's why they have the scene of the R2 unit like blowing itself to shit.
It's a really famous one. That's one of the popular theories. It's very funny.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
There's so many of them though as well. There's so many different ones.
R2. There's so many theories, man. It's just so silly and dumb, but I love it dearly, and that's what I love about this franchise is like people latch on to these things and like try to pick apart every minor thing. Obviously, like A New Hope originally released as just Star Wars. In the 1997 re-release, George Lucas changed that to A New Hope and not Star Wars, and changed it to Episode 5, that sort of thing.
One of the best posters of all time, by the way. Just gonna get that out there. The New Hope poster is like, it's I think all three of the OG trilogies, like they're posters, you know. So fucking
I think a lot of the Star Wars posters are fantastic, because the one with Anakin for Phantom Menace walking away, and it's like the Darth Vader shadow. That's a good one too. But yeah, some of the most iconic posters. They released in 1977. George Lucas went back and just edited a shit ton, just because the technology wasn't able to do a lot of things. So I understand adding some things, but basically in the first movie, that CGI stormtroopers standing in the desert, like that scene wasn't in the original. They used the Jawa Sandwalker. They added a bunch of other shots. Obi-Wan, when he yells from the distance as like the crate dragon, that wasn't in the original. It was just kind of him yelling. So they added that in for some reason. Like these silly things that don't necessarily matter. But the one that makes me the most mad is that he adds Greedo shooting first and adds like a CGI head dodge from Han. Han shot first, damn it. You don't have to be a good character. Han shot first. That's like far and away the most egregious and probably most known shot that was changed. But they add, like, if you watch it, like Han makes a very quick head turn, and that was just all CGI and stupid, and it looks very bad. Also, Han talking to Jabba the Hutt was not in the original movie.
Yeah, when he walks over Jabba's tail.
It's so fucking.
It's so bad. Yeah, like the CGI was really bad. That was filmed for the original movie, but they didn't have the technology and the CGI to like make Jabba look real.
But it has such a charm to it, though. Like it really does.
It looks very rubbery, even in the
but
re-release.
it has this like hyper realistic, overly ridiculous charm. Whether that was the prerogative or not, it just looks cool. Like I almost think it looks like bad in a way that it's like in terms of the CG. Like when he steps over.
I don't know if cool is the word I would use.
I don't know. Like I think it just adds a charm to it. Like I really, really think it does. I think it just adds a charm to it.
It's fair.
Like outside of that, though, I think in terms of the New Hope specifically, we can speak about the era of adventure it gives, the characters, whatever. Something that's not spoken about enough. Like these films, they look amazing, and I'm not just talking from a production, a set point of view because of how much work they put in the miniatures, for example. The lighting as well, compared to like blockbusters we get now. Every shot, for example, where Leia's on screen, the way her kind of face is lit up, the way her surroundings are there, the blockings, the areas we're seeing, it's like unbelievable how fucking good this is, and especially when you consider how this was sort of made together and the people he brought into his production team at that time. It's like one of the best looking films ever made. I think that's just a massive feat in itself.
It holds up really like unbelievably well, even beyond just like, you know, standard singular shots. Like I think the attack on the Death Star, like still like obviously, you know, a little sign of times there, but like I think it still holds up like rather well. Like for 1977, I think, you know, whatever the fellows were doing back there at Industrial Light and Magic, I think it's paying off like beautifully. And it was cool in the doc seeing George like get to like the mid 90s when like technology had like advanced to the point of like him being able to like truly like put his vision to screen. You know, he somewhat like remasters the original trilogy, but he's also like, yeah, now it's perfect time to like dive into digital filmmaking with the prequel trilogy. It's cool to like watch how like Star Wars has like evolved in a way that like, I don't know how to word this properly, but like it's cool seeing like the evolution of like technology through Star Wars.
I know what you mean.
Because it's like it's very it's just like it's so clear. Yeah, it's so clearly like in your face. It's like watching George Miller and the Mad Max movies. Like you can just clearly see like how much technology has changed and what he's trying to do.
His vision of what he's trying to do.
Yeah, like you go back and watch like Mad Max or Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, and then you watch Fury Road and Furiosa, and you're like, yeah, like.
When was Phantom Menace? What was the release date? Because Return of Jedi was 83.
1999.
99. So obviously 16 years, and like you said, I think whether you like it or not, and again, the digital style isn't for everyone, and kind of the hyper realism approach, but George Lucas had this idea in his head and the way he wanted to look, and he really, really had the, you know, in the late 90s and early 2000s when digital filmmaking especially was kind of in that boom era, and we had this where you could do you know, these huge scale essentially just modified computer generated backgrounds as we see in like Attack on the Clones, for example. This was his goal. I know what George means because it really is like a thing where you see the progression, because there was 16 years between 16 years between how much progresses to a point visually, especially.
It's like he gets to a point, George Lucas, and he's like, damn, like there's technology here, and I want to play around with that technology in my Star Wars universe. Like thing with
which
George.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like, which makes absolute sense. I mean, same exact thing with George Miller and Mad Max. It's like, you know,
especially if you look at like
the 2010s pull up, and George Miller's like, oh shit, like, you know, the possibilities in the wasteland are like endless now because of what I'm able to do on screen, what I'm able to put to screen.
Because you look at for example, in the original trilogy, when you look at these characters and these sets, George Lucas was always going to be the guy who could go as extravagant as possible with his creations and with his creatures in terms of the way they look and the way they're modified. So it's just natural progression. Like in terms of the way, like what's his name, General Grievous. Like the way he looks, for example, it's very hyper realistic, and that was always kind of the way he was going to approach it. And I really like seeing that progression between the two, because of the time in between. And then obviously for the sequel, George Lucas did return, didn't he? Or am I making that up?
George Lucas returned what?
He didn't do Return.
No, he didn't do Return, did he?
No,
and then
he didn't do Return.
He did.
We'll talk about why.
The New Hope, and then because he
only did A New Hope in the original trilogy.
I remember.
And then he did obviously the 3 prequels. So he was creating this company. I don't want to jump too much to that until we get to Empire, but give me a sec on A New Hope. Still on where Han and Luke meet and Ben, they're getting into a ship. Another thing I find very funny is Han's talking about his ship like it's the fastest ship in the galaxy. Did the Kessel run in 3 parsecs or whatever, and 12 parsecs. Sorry, thank you. He's like, it's a great ship. It's awesome. And then as soon as Luke walks outside and sees it, he's like, this is a piece of shit. This sucks. And so I imagine just like, what if you're like, yeah, I really like my car. And the first thing like someone says when they see it is like, this sucks. This car is the worst. And I'd be like, all right, man.
A dude you literally just met.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
not even like one of your boys.
They obviously fly to the Death Star the first time, trying to get to Alderaan. They blew up. They enter in and can't find Alderaan. It's a very famous like that's no moon scene. So they get on the Death Star to rescue Princess Leia.
We need to do I'm sorry to interrupt. We need to do a Family Guy like Blue Harvest trilogy review.
Yeah. We can do that when I love Blue Harvest.
I will for sure watch that again.
In Blue Harvest, when they're approaching the Death Star, and I think Luke's like, or someone's like, there's the space station, and Luke's like, no, that's a big moon, and Han's like, dude, that's so clearly not a moon. Like, what are you looking at?
We can do the OG trilogy, prequels, sequels, and then we'll do a Blue Harvest episode whenever we have a break in good releases. So we'll do that as well because the Blue Harvest is so funny, man.
Do you guys like the Wilhelm scream? Are you a fan of it?
The what?
Which one's that?
Wilhelm scream.
Do it.
I can't. The scream. How the fuck do you not know what this is? Like it's like the most iconic scream from all these. It's been
I like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I didn't know that was what it was called.
People like it just signals to me like classic Hollywood blockbuster in that instance. I love that shit. In the first when they're fighting, the stormtrooper falls off when it's Leia and they've just swung over.
Oh,
that shit, man. Yeah, I just love it. It just kind of reminds
I didn't know that had a name. I thought that was just
I didn't know that's what it was named.
There's a huge background.
I know what it is. I just didn't realize that's what it was named.
Well, if you notice, like it's been in hundreds and hundreds of films. Like it was in Lord of the Rings all the time, Star Wars all the time. It was in Indiana Jones. It was something that was placed, and there's so much story behind it. It's really, really interesting. I'll actually have a look because it was like from a Western in like the 60s, and they just kept using it.
Interesting.
Really, really cool.
Very cool. So they get on the Death Star. Obviously, the plan is just to get off. They discover Princess Leia is there. R2, and so Luke and Han go to rescue her. They get the trash compactor scene, very famous. And then they finally get to Leia. They do the jump over where he lassos up, and they do the jump over the drop or whatever it is. But it's interesting in the documentary. They talk about how they had to do that for real. They didn't have stunt actors. They couldn't afford getting stunt actors. It was Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill doing that. And one of the crew members was testing it, and he basically ripped the harness. And Mark Hamill was like, well, I'm not doing that. The stunt guy basically lied to him and said, it was my pants ripping, not the harness. And so it's crazy. He's like, I'm glad I got so lucky that he did it in one take and it was fine and it was the perfect shot. But it's like, you could have just killed Mark Hamill. He said it was like a 20-meter drop or whatever. It's like, you could have just killed Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher from this lie. I just found that very funny and interesting. You obviously get the Ben and Darth Vader fight scene. This is the only lightsaber battle in the first movie, which is fascinating. Just like how this has evolved, of like always needing this franchise has evolved, always needing the lightsaber battle. Because like you get a very quick You get a very quick lightsaber.
It's barely even a
battle.
lightsaber battle, really.
It's a
it's a couple. It's a couple hits and then a sacrifice.
He's literally a martyr, like after like one hit. That's kind of what it is.
And have you guys ever seen that? Like,
the remastered version.
The remastered. I hate it. I hate it
really?
So much.
Why?
Yeah, I hate it very much. I think it's dumb, and it's not like the point of the Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess. I think it's cool.
Wait, what was the change in the remaster? Have I seen this?
Oh, no, not the remaster. It's like a fan edit. It's like a fan edit of that fight.
What was the change?
It's like a full fight.
It's a
it's a
CGI like battle basically.
It's not meant to be a fight. That's like it's not like surely that just takes away the point from the scene, no?
Yeah, it's like a full 17-minute like. I could find it.
I can't wait till we talk about Duel of the Fates.
We'll get into that. But this is where you get the sacrifice. Ben like becomes the Force, and you kind of get that sacrifice that I mentioned of like again Mark Hamill or Luke Skywalker just has to be like, oh damn, that sucks. Move on with my life now. They escape.
The way he just drops as well. The way it's like his like coat or just drops.
And I like when like Darth Vader like steps on him as if like he's gonna find anything down there. Is very funny.
Is this it? Okay.
I'm not gonna play like the whole thing.
Oh yeah. I have seen this.
It's like
I've seen this before.
Fight. Yeah.
This sucks, in my opinion.
I mean, it looks so obviously fake. Like, it's really
I don't think
for
that's
the
point of the
scene.
fight.
I don't think it works. Like,
I don't think that's the point of the fight.
George, why do you buy films on
beyond
YouTube?
That?
What?
Why do you buy films on YouTube? Isn't it more expensive?
Where do you see that?
Attack of the Clones says purchased right next to
Oh yeah. I don't know why I bought it.
Is it not Disney Plus, man? Do you have Disney?
Just Disney Plus.
I certainly have Disney Plus. I just, I like to have films on stop.
Sure. Okay.
Great. Brilliant.
You get then they go back to Yavin, to the rebellion. They have the very classic. They have the very classic, like, here is the plans to the Death Star. They built in a way to destroy the entire base, and he's like, that's no bigger than a wampa
a womp
rat that I shoot.
Crazy beating the odds scenario, which is what the entire production of this movie has been about. Pretty much is just overcoming a mad adversity.
You get them all flying out. So this is why I said the shots of the X-Wings and TIE fighters, like, that was added in re-release. It was originally just Luke's X-Wing that you see like flying in, I believe. And then so you go and have the big dog fight, and basically it's interesting, like George Lucas cut together dog fights from like old war movies and was like, I want it to look like this. And then the ILM team basically recreated that entirely with TIE fighters and X-Wings. Which is very cool. Just an interesting way that George Lucas like, this is how I want it to look. Just make it my ships and not a war film.
Not a war film.
You get the moment of Luke, using the Force, taking up the guiding computer, and
we really don't understand the power of like, the Force is such an unknown at this point. Until obviously we'll speak about this in Empire Strikes Back, but until the Luke and Yoda sequence is where we kind of really understand. Where's
like all you see is Darth Vader choking.
No, I mean like in terms of the power of it and how the responsibility of it. What is it? Dagobah. Yeah. Like, so it really is kind of like not an unknown, but in terms of the rarity of it, and also like the power of it as well, and the responsibility you carry if you have it, that sort of thing.
And you really only see like Darth Vader force choke, and that's kind of it in this movie. You don't see a push or pull or anything, and then it's like this guiding force almost. But you also get the very iconic Yahoo! From that was more Mario.
I was gonna
from
say
Han Solo. Yahoo! I don't know how to do it, but like I love that scene of like it's the classic, like, anti-hero. He leaves, he's got his money, he's leaving. But then he comes back to save the day and help Luke get Darth Vader off his back. Just a great scene. They have the iconic, like, they get their medals at the end. Chewie doesn't get one. Which, don't worry, the sequel's fixed. It's the stupidest change ever. But yeah, they get their medals at the end, and you have that iconic score, and it's like the first time you see this like very exciting and happy like hero film of this time, and it does, you know, numbers at the box office. I forget what records it breaks. It obviously becomes the highest grossing movie of the time.
Dude, it was an awards darling too. 10 Oscar nominations, 7
Oscar
wins.
Noms.
I don't know who in the documentary said this, but someone basically was like, I think it was either the editor or
wasn't it one of the producers?
Maybe one of the producers.
I won an Oscar before I even thought about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, yeah, exactly. He was like, I didn't think this would happen ever. But for it to happen on a movie, one that I thought was a children's movie, and two I thought would flop horrendously. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't win Best Picture, but it gets nominated for Best Picture. Like, just does crazy numbers at the box office, crazy numbers critically. Just becomes obviously the biggest franchise. And so George Lucas, you know, he had it, as we mentioned, he had the marketing, he had the rights to the second 2 movies and to these characters. So he, you know, leaves Fox, and then he goes and produces the next movies on his own through Lucasfilm. So he fully funds the movies himself. The second movie has a $25 million budget compared to the $8 million that A New Hope got. So moving into Empire Strikes Back, what are your general thoughts? George, you made yourself big, so you give general thoughts of Empire.
I don't know why I keep doing that. I'm trying to figure out, because like right now, this Empire Strikes Back banner is blocking a little bit of your face. Not your face, but like your... No.
I'll sit off to the side. It's fine. It always takes away the name, but like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll survive. We don't need it. We're on Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, not to spoil my Star Wars ranking, which I'm sure we'll eventually do, you know, when we've wrapped up all of our trilogy discussions and Blue Harvest discussion. But this is number 1 for me. One of the first notes I wrote when I was watching this documentary is that I thought it was really cool that Irving Kershner was George Lucas's professor. And when George Lucas kind of realized, like, I'm too busy to like commit myself to directing this project, he kind of like turned to an old professor of his, which I just thought was so fucking incredible. And I love the idea that Irving Kershner was kind of like, I don't think
director, like he was a rom-com director, like a romance movie director.
I was gonna say, like, he kind of his initial response to George was basically like, I don't think I'm good enough to like.
He'd done like small scale films as well.
Yeah,
it wasn't like anything of a large budget or anything.
They interviewed him in the documentary, and he was basically like, you know, you have one successful film, but you need 2 successful films to be a successful franchise or a successful trilogy. So he thought that pressure was just unbelievable. But, you know, obviously goes on to be widely regarded as, you know, the pinnacle of the Star Wars saga, and you know, I think in Cam's mind the greatest movie of all time, or maybe I think Spider-Verse have eclipsed, but either way,
changed it after rewatch.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah. But yeah, this is insane. This is an insane sequel. This is every single sequel post Empire Strikes Back can thank the Empire Strikes Back for that influence in, you know, being able to go darker, being able to go deeper and more introspective in the sequel. You know, you don't have to, you know, play off the tropes of the first movie and kind of give your viewers fan service or, you know, recreate that magic of the first movie. You know, this movie is so much darker, so much deeper. It really subverts our expectations and kind of what you may expect from a typical sequel. It carries that. I you know, obviously George Lucas still has a lot of influence on this film, still writes the film, still produces the film. So there's a lot of George Lucas influence here. So you still see that, you know, very traditional 3-act structure where, you know, you have that opening scene on Hoth. You have the Empire, you know, rebelling against the rebel base. You know, you get into Act 2 where all of our characters are kind of separated. It was so interesting in the documentary how Mark Hamill was basically like, yeah, for a couple months, I was the only human being on the call sheet. It was Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, snakes, trees, you know, Yoda, puppet.
Yeah, when he's in Dagobah.
It's exactly. He went to the Dagobah system. It was just him for months. So it kind of it gave me, like I said before, this documentary gives me a lot more appreciation for the production of this movie. And this is just one of those instances where, you see a lot of actors and actresses fail when they try to act with no human beings around them, when they're trying to interact with, the space around them instead of actual people. And I think that just massive credit to Mark Hamill and just how good of an actor he is and how good of a Luke Skywalker he is. But then you have, the Cloud City duel in Act 3, and that's just, obviously the legendary twist comes in. You have betrayals. So it's
wait, there's a twist?
Major
There's
twist.
a father.
Yeah. There's a father. I think someone yells, "What's in the box?" at some point. There are some weird.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's this movie. This is very much we're in the universe. A New Hope sets everything up, introduces everything beautifully, but now you're here, you're in it. Characters are developing. There's so much additional maturity in the screenplay. There's so much more than just that standard science fiction big bad, good versus evil. There's a lot of moral conflict. There's a lot of internal conflict. I love that shot of Luke killing Darth Vader and seeing himself in the Darth Vader mask. There's a lot of, whether or not Luke is good enough, strong enough. Is he a failure? Is he going to succumb to the dark side? There's a lot of there's a lot of internal gray areas that I love that we're exploring in this film. We get a lot more of Darth Vader. He's not just like this massive big bad presence in this movie. He is like, he's very calculated. He's very obsessed. He has a lot of ambition, and you just see a lot more of like him. You're introduced to Darth Vader in A New Hope, and they're basically like, yeah, this dude's been ruling the galaxy for 20 years, and now you're an Empire, and you're kind of understanding like how he's been able to accomplish that, why he's been able to accomplish that. You get so much more of him as a character as opposed to just this massive big bad. And then the introduction of Yoda, man. This movie does everything so correctly. The battle on Hoth, the introduction of Yoda, everything on Cloud City, everything is just done so beautifully. This movie has so many all-time great moments. And I love the introduction of Yoda, probably the best new addition to this franchise at this point. He brings a deeper philosophy to the Force. He brings a this mentorship to Luke that Luke was missing after the death of Obi-Wan, and he just kind of approaches the Force and everything very spiritually, and it's beautiful. It's fantastic. So yeah, I love this movie. I think everything done in this movie is brilliant, from Irving Kershner's direction to the introduction of Yoda, to the way this movie looks. That obviously it's the now iconic shot of Vader and Luke standing there with their lightsabers, and there's like the blue in the background, and the lights are like orange, and it's so it's insane. It's insane. We're kind of introducing stop motion to the production of this movie and its visual effects with the what are they called? The snow walkie thingies on Hoth. What are they called?
The tauntauns.
Yeah.
Or AT-ATs.
AT-ATs. Yes, AT-ATs.
AT-ATs are the big ships. Tauntauns are the
Tauntauns are the small little, yeah.
But yeah, either way, we're introducing stop motion. We're introducing, the puppet in Yoda. It's cool. Like, it's a cool progression of visual storytelling and just, visual design that I really love. And then same thing with The New Hope, man. It's one of the most culturally impactful films, I think, out there. It's kind of like hey, we've proven that we're good at what we do, with A New Hope. We've proven that this can be a successful franchise. We're going to subvert your expectations and go a completely different direction. And like I said earlier, every single sequel, from Terminator 2 Judgment Day to Aliens, all the way to Two Towers, they have Empire Strikes Back to thank for kind of showing that you can shift in tone and in narrative very just like that. And you can still be successful. So yeah, I love this movie. This is absolute masterpiece. One of the greatest of all time.
Seth?
Yeah, echo much what George saying. Obviously, you get like in Empire Quest and New Hope, like George said, New Hope's like the introductory kind of world showcase, and then really in Empire, it really is kind of a much more of a further look into like the ecosystems of Star Wars, the other areas. Obviously, the introduction of Lando. Well, Lando and Yoda. The introduction of Yoda. I think, like I said before, an understanding, knowing of kind of how powerful the Force is, and he who upholds it, like the responsibility they have as well. I think those sequences with Luke are so needed in that he almost, again, it's like another father figure for Luke almost after the two he had kind of died. I think it's the way it opens as well, like the immediate sequences with the what they call again, the big walkies,
AT-ATs.
Yes, amazing. Like even just the sole introduction where Luke's kind of captured by the Wampa, right? That bit used to, when he escapes and he cuts into the whatever it's fucking called, and he like sleeps in there, the sleeping bag. Yeah. What's he called?
Tauntaun.
Oh, is that what? Yeah, okay,
yeah. The
That's disgusting, man. That really like made me feel really odd as a kid, like when the intestines come out and shit. But again, the introduction to this world and the different scopes we have, like it's obviously. What's the time jump in between the two? Is like
it's like 5 years. Well, I know it's 3 years between the movies being made. I think that.
No, I mean the like
shit
in
like in universe time jump.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's like 5 years. Time jump.
I thought it was 3 years. Maybe it's 5 years. I'm not right. Actually.
New Hope and Empire. In universe time jump. 3 years. So it's basically real time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, so obviously we get the big moment, as George said, with kind of the truly one of the greatest like twists and reveals of all time with Darth and Luke, which. Man, can you imagine watching that in 1980?
I was gonna say, man,
I don't remember what I felt, but like imagine being like 25 and seeing that. Like
I don't remember life. I don't remember life before I knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It's so ingrained in.
It's like something we were born knowing.
Like I feel like we were. It's so ingrained in like pop culture. You kind of know. Like who doesn't know this? You know? Like,
And it's worth noting, like the original script, like it was obviously George Lucas knew, Erwin Kershner knew, and another producer knew. But like Mark Hamill got told like right before the scene, like you're gonna be told this, and David Prowse, who's reading lines and again trying to be Darth Vader, he's reading that Obi-Wan killed his father, basically, and he's like, but actually in the movie it's gonna be I am your father. So like act that way, basically. So it's interesting how under lock and key this was until like the movie came out, because even James Earl Jones was like, when I read the lines for voice recording, he's like, I don't believe this. There's no way he's lying. I'm excited to see what comes next, kind of thing. And it's just, you don't get that nowadays. I feel like everything's been revealed. Everything's like possible. So it'd be cool to,
Yeah, I mean it's so like iconic in the way, but it's so well done as well, and obviously we'll go back to. I think that moment with the both of them and the production and the set, it just looks so fucking good, and in every way it's perfected. And you have like this story of betrayal, of oppression, obviously when Lando betrays Han and blah blah blah. And it really, really is where we get to meet so much more. It's a bigger scope than the first one. It's more in tune with the ecosystems of Star Wars, but we get so much more from it as well. I think that, so it's not, well, like George said, it's probably most people's favorite. It's definitely my second favorite, not to give away too much. I think it's kind of obvious. But it really is like a phenomenon. And I think it's, again, like darker, grittier, but it still maintains a lot of its silliness and camaraderie between the main group and the main community. And yeah, it's an amazing film. What's to say? Amazing film.
Yeah. I think I've talked it plenty. It's a perfect movie. It's my favorite movie. It goes back and forth with Spider-Verse, basically whichever one is the last one I watched. But yeah, I watched it last night, and I think it's a perfect movie in every way, shape, and form. I love it very, very dearly. Don't have to get into it too much, but just like it's the best looking Star Wars. It's the best emotionally driven Star Wars. It introduces characters that you haven't seen, obviously Yoda, Lando, Boba Fett, Emperor Palpatine, like a bunch of different characters that you haven't seen that all work super well. Getting into it, like Erwin Kershner, The director, like you mentioned, was kind of a small director before this, didn't fully want to be a part of it, but then got into it. And I think like his use of romance and humor in this really works. He basically mentions, I need romance, but I can't have any smooching. I need humor, but I can't have any gags. And I think every decision he makes with the jokes and with the romance between Han and Leia like really works. Like you really care for these people. Yoda's this goofy little guy, voiced by Frank Oz. Designed by I had the name written down. I don't think I have anymore. But who was Yoda designed by? Give me a second. Sorry, bad podcasting.
Not in my notes.
Stuart Freeborn is who designed Yoda, and basically he like looked in the mirror and he's like, I kind of got a weird face. I'm going to design this after me. So epic move to design this character after yourself. But also like he looks at inspiration of Einstein because he's supposed to be extremely smart. And it's super funny. I was watching the documentary and I didn't really know what Frank Oz looked like. Like I knew he voiced Yoda. Frank Oz is he's in Knives Out as the guy who reads the will. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's that fella. But yeah, he does the voice, and it's interesting the way they built the Dagobah system. Like George mentioned, it was only Luke, and you might be thinking like, oh, there were people on set, and yes, they were. But the way they built it is they had this 4 foot high. They were in this giant room. They had this 4 foot high set that like Yoda's puppet master, puppeteer, was standing under it. They had like 4 different people working Yoda. Some people worked on the eyes. Some people moved the ears. Frank Oz did the voice and then also moved Yoda. And so Luke couldn't really hear him or see any of these people. He's kind of standing up there, kind of going off of what's being pumped into his ear. And so he has a radio system that they're reading lines to him so he can react off of it. They give him a lot of credit in the documentary of like, this doesn't work if Luke's performance isn't so meaningful and isn't used as well. And it's true. Like he does a really great job. And he's like, when he, says that I don't believe it. And that's why you fail. Like that scene really works. 1, because of the score. 2, because Luke Skywalker is really like, or Mark Hamill's like really into it and really understanding. And it's a lot easier to be into it in this movie when you know how big of a hit the first Star Wars was. But this one has its own weight as well. Like it's the first time it was produced by George Lucas himself. Obviously, he has to go through the banks. He's not able to get as big of loans through the banks as much because basically the bank basically comes back once he goes over budget, and they got a new loan director or something at the time. They were saying like, if the budget doubles or the movie goes past its due date, we pull the loan. So George Lucas had to finish it super quick after his loan got pulled. So he has other obstacles to go through. And then like you mentioned, like, people always said back then, if the first's a hit, there's no way the second's going to amount to that same feeling. This obviously goes against that original belief. But yeah, just the set design of the Dagobah system's really, really cool. The way they work the miniatures or the puppet of Yoda is very cool and very fascinating to see. This movie was filmed in Iceland, I believe, where they do the Hoth scenes. And it's super funny. Irvin Kershner was basically talking about how they had the biggest snow they'd ever had in like 12 years or something. And so they weren't able to leave their hotel. So they recorded Luke running away from the Wampa, just out the hotel window. Basically, they opened the window, they had Luke run, and all of the set and crew were inside, and they just filmed that scene because they weren't able to get out of their hotel. They were freezing themselves. People were getting like frostbite and super cold on set. They had these giant, trucks that they had to drive with snow wheels on them to get out to where they were filming. Just interesting to see. Obviously now that would all be CGI. Nothing would be filmed in location, especially if you had that kind of winter that they had. They use it's funny, they had asteroid fields that they used, like a bunch of them are potatoes They've all been like changed now, but they use potatoes for the asteroids because they're like mentioned, like it's a lot harder to design an asteroid than you would think. So they use potatoes. I mentioned before, but they talk about how because they had so much more money. George Lucas bought a studio for ILM to go into. Like 10 of the group or 10 of the crew from ILM came with him to Central California rather than Van Nuys to this new studio. And he basically is like, we're doing Star Wars again, but this time we have money. If you guys want to come. So they mentioned like they had a lot more money to do things that they wanted to on the first. A lot of the first movie they talk about is very much one ship in one shot. But in the second movie, you have the AT-ATs walking around and the ships flying around them because they had more technology. So that's interesting to see. Super famous behind the scenes is that the original script, most people know this, but maybe not. The original script was I love you too. They couldn't get the right shot. They didn't have the right feeling. So they were just like, Harrison Ford, run it, just do whatever, do your thing. She says, I love you. And he says, I know. And they're like, that's perfect. They edit like the scenes of Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, like their love scenes. They had a lot of dialogue back and forth, and they were like, it's just way too much. It's not believable. So they have them just run through basically how the scene is now.
Which is something I think went wrong in Return of the Jedi with those two, which we'll go on to.
I guess, yeah, we can talk it because I don't fully know what you mean. So we'll talk that when we get to Return of the Jedi. But just a lot of things. They make a lot of really good decisions in order to make this movie what it is now. Like I said, the love really works. The scenes in Cloud City look so great. The Yoda and Luke scenes like work so well, and that's kind of what makes it the perfect movie in my opinion. The emotion you feel when Luke is, even though he's just like no, and he's like kind of freaking out and has like he's like way acting into it. Like I think it works really well in this thing. And every moment I just love.
I don't want to move past Cloud City quickly because I think Cloud City is so fucking gorgeous, and I see a lot of Cloud City influence in Attack of the Clones, actually. So shout out Attack of the Clones, Seth. Cloud City, it's basically it's not green screen necessarily. It's all matte paintings, which is basically just massive like landscape paintings, which is just absolutely insane. So you rewatch Empire and you watch the first introduction of Han meeting up with Lando, and you're like looking at the background and everything's very still, but everything's just very like gorgeous and orange and pink. And it's also a lot of these paintings are used for like the interior designs of Cloud City instead of just the exterior designs.
Didn't they do that for the Palpatine scene as well?
They did it for a couple scenes. Yeah, they did it for a few scenes. Yeah, but Cloud City is obviously the most prominent. Like it's beautiful. They're in the sky. The background sunsets, or maybe not even sunset, maybe just sun, like pinks and oranges. But it's such a cool like look at technology because you're combining matte paintings with like live action, like actual composition. So it's a very interesting like approach to.
They really tried everything. You like
that's why when we were talking earlier about just like how like technology has just, you can see the evolution of technology through the Star Wars films. It's not like trilogy to trilogy. It's film to film. Like you can really see like from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, like they're just trying so many different things, like I said, involving puppetry with Yoda or stop motion with the AT-ATs. Like it's just all very cool. But the paintings is beautiful because it gives, we always say Attack of the Clones has that more Shakespearean vibe to it. But there are elements of Empire Strikes Back, and particularly like the painting of the landscapes in Cloud City, whether it be interior or exterior, that's very, not traditionally Shakespearean, and like the way Attack of the Clones is, along with like its dialogue and everything. But it's very cool seeing how like, physical paintings are incorporated into the world of Star Wars. And then another thing that I was reading about the AT-ATs was this was like a very big like experimental moment in Star Wars history with sound design. Like the sound of the AT-ATs is basically sound mixing from a hydraulic press. Like that's the sound of the AT-ATs walking, which I thought was really cool. And then you have like the Imperial probe drone, which is like just audio radio distortions. So it's like, it's really cool. It reminded me of John Krasinski horror movie, A Quiet Place, when they were showing how those aliens like talk. It's basically just people cracking vegetables into microphones. Like it's very cool. It even reminded me, shout out my girl Billie Eilish, it reminded me of Billie Eilish's debut album. Like it's a bunch of like dentist, like it's just cool. It's like it's dentist material, like power drills like in her music. Like it's cool. Like how do they think to do the AT-ATs to do like a hydraulic press? Like why did they think of that? Why did they think for why did they think for some of these droids to just distort radio audio effects? Like it's very cool. And then this was one of the first this I might be wrong on. So if I am wrong, correct me. This was one of the first instances of a Dolby stereo being used in cinema, was for the release of Empire Strikes Back, just because they had such like a, groundbreaking move forward in audio that they, I guess, I don't know the history of Dolby stereo, but still pretty cool.
Yeah, I think one thing we haven't given enough credit for is the sound design. Like Darth Vader is a scuba mask that they put a microphone in. Yeah. They talk about R2-D2 trying to make the beeps and boops, like how to make them realistic. So they mix like people saying beep boop, talking like a baby, but also with like a synthesizer to make it more like a robot. So just like the sound design works really well. We don't have to get into it too much, but I think like maybe when we do prequels, because they do a lot of like cool things for those as well. The prequels have very cool sound design, so we can get into that more. It's just a very interesting look into the like original trilogy, like we said. But I think what works so well in this second movie is that it's way more character driven, and we've mentioned that, but like you've gotten the scene setting in the first movie. Now you've got a more character driven movie. You have a little bit more action, obviously, with the lightsaber fight between Luke and Darth Vader and everything. Like you have a bit more action, but it's still way more story driven than like blockbusters today are made. And
it's a massive production.
Yeah,
and the documentary even goes into like saying like like ILM and their work on Empire Strikes Back, like that goes on to influence and literally design Jurassic Park and I think they said Pixar and Toy Story and Terminator.
Like a division.
It's
a division of ILM becomes Pixar, basically.
Every movie post, when did Empire come back? 1980. Every movie post 1980, there's Empire influence in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can even go back to the original Star Wars when they were making that. But like ILM has grown to be so much, and Lucasfilm has grown to be so much. But yeah, it's crazy how these got made. I love Empire so dearly. It's far and away my favorite movie. But we can continue on to Return of the Jedi. Worth noting, like the opening crawl of the movie is obviously one of the most iconic things about Star Wars. That big, like, Star Wars appears and the big score comes off and you have the opening crawl. This was not something that the Directors Guild was about. They were very not happy with this. Basically, they gave George Lucas, they allowed him to do this on the first movie because it was so small and no one really knew, and then do the creatives at the end, which was new. Like all the actors and directors and producers, everything at the end of the movie was not something they used to do. They did it at the start of the movie, but George Lucas wanted that opening crawl. So on the first movie, they allowed it. On the second movie, they fined him like crazy for this. George Lucas paid the fine, but was very upset about this, like felt he was being punished for trying to push the boundaries of movie making. So he left the Directors Guild, he left the Writers Guild, he left every guild basically, and again went out on his own. So that was kind of the fallout of like having that opening crawl. And unfortunately, that caused us to not get we were supposed to get a Steven Spielberg directed Return of the Jedi had to go out to someone who wasn't in the Directors Guild. So he hired Richard Marquand, who wasn't in the DGA, because he wasn't in the DGA anymore and couldn't use that same thing with Irvin Kershner, couldn't use a DGA director. But we should have had a Spielberg directed Star Wars movie, which would have been great. So Lucasfilm produced Indiana Jones in between this. Han Solo obviously doesn't get killed in the Empire Strikes Back, but is kind of left open-ended. After the first Star Wars movie, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill signed on to 2 more. Harrison Ford signed on to 1 more. They mentioned like he was just as famous for Indiana Jones as he was for Han Solo at this point.
I never knew this was a part of, just because you mentioned, the fact that Harrison Ford more or less blew up post Star Wars. He was Indiana Jones not too long after he'd become the Blade Runner. I think I'm on board with the idea that they should have killed off Han in Return of the Jedi. I never knew that was like something they were considering in the original trilogy, but I liked when Harrison Ford was basically like, yeah, this is a character with.
That's why they kill him off in the sequels, is he just always wanted to die.
Yeah,
always wanted to die.
I guess, but I don't know. In Return of the Jedi, I think it just would have been a little more fitting. He a family-less guy,
I see what you're saying,
selfish. Ends the trilogy, self-sacrifice. I think that would have been a beautiful arc. I mean, listen, I like the way the movie ends. I like Han's arc, but yeah, I never even knew that was like a consideration. I didn't know like Han Solo. I didn't know Harrison Ford was like even floating around that idea during the production of Return.
He always wanted to be the guy. He didn't want to come back for the 3rd movie. They obviously got him back, but I prefer this. Just obviously I love Han, but I prefer him being in this and prefer his character. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Another fallout of the production of the success of Empire is that I mentioned earlier, like Alan Ladd Jr., who was like the big driving force to get Fox to take on the original Star Wars, got fired because they basically said like, he quit, but it was kind of like a agreeance of him leaving. Of he got into a lot of shit of like, why'd you give George Lucas all of his marketing rights, all of the rights to the 2nd movie? Like, why'd you do that? And it's like, we got the 1st movie. I didn't know what it was going to be. No one did. I was pushing for this movie when everyone else was against it, but he got fired, which basically severed ties between George and Fox. And that's why Indiana Jones was released through Paramount, I believe at the time, Paramount.
From a business perspective, like if you're a production company, and you've given someone the entire rights of marketing to your movie, that's got to be such a failure on like the production company's part. Like that's an unbelievable decision to make. Like, I mean, insanely cool from like George Lucas's perspective, where he like maintained the rights to his movie basically like as much as he could, but like from a business POV, like imagine if Feige lost the marketing rights to Avengers Doomsday because the Russo brothers wanted to hold on to them. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, that's very true. But so moving on to Return of the Jedi, originally titled Revenge of the Jedi, but
Fun Fox.
That's I feel like a known fun fact, but George Lucas basically said Jedis don't get revenge, hence why
I like that. I like that.
Episode 3 is Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, it was up until like 2 weeks before the production, or 2 weeks before the movie came out, it was Revenge of the Jedi, because basically someone told him Return of the Jedi is a weak title. But I think he knows these characters, he knows what he wants, and he goes back to Return of the Jedi because Jedi don't get revenge. Thoughts on Return of the Jedi, George?
I love Return of the Jedi. I don't think it's as strong as Empire or A New Hope, and I think I've been fairly vocal about that, recently. Not that I dislike the movie at all. I think this is a fantastic movie, but I think when you compare the quality of a Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope to that of a Return of the Jedi, I think there's a slight fall off. I know, this is not like a Disney product, but it does feel like the more Disneyified film of the trilogy, where you produce and you make A New Hope, and everyone's saying, "Oh, this is a children's movie," and then the movie comes out, and you realize, no, this is not a children's movie. This is a true, mature space opera. I think you could look at Return of the Jedi and kind of call it a children's movie, but not in like the traditional sense of a children's movie, like a fucking Pixar Toy Story type of movie. But it is the more movie that I think just appeals to a younger audience rather than to like a mature set of Star Wars fans. But I still love the movie. I still love the way it concludes the trilogy. I still love the way it kind of blends resolution and redemption and rebellion, and kind of like gives all of our characters a like really like fun finale. I loved how the third act is kind of like this very like, very spacious climax where you have Luke, Vader, and the Emperor in one area. You have the Battle of Endor in another area, and then you have, Lando and the space battle on the Death Star in another area. It's a very fun like three-way climax. Pause. It's a very fun final act of like intercutting scenes of that final act. Love the way the character arcs wrap up. I love Luke Skywalker. I love how he's like now this fully matured, stoic. He goes from the farm boy, kind of travels and like takes like a very standard hero's journey, but it's beautiful to watch unfold. It's a really cool arc. You obviously have the Vader Anakin resolution, which I think has just only been made stronger now because of the following Star Wars content that we get in the prequel trilogy, the Clone Wars animated series. You get a lot more Vader depth. So I think that finale of Vader kind of just has only gotten stronger in its time since its release. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. You have themes of symbolism. You have generational circles kind of working together. You move. You kill off Obi-Wan in A New Hope, and by the end of Return of the Jedi, you kind of have Luke playing that mature, wise figure in the films, which I absolutely love. And then I'm going to continue talking about technology because it's really, that's something that I just focus on heavily as I like rewatch this trilogy. You have Jabba the Hutt, absolutely massive animatronic puppet. You have more miniatures and models, which is just beautiful. John Williams, he's what's the Emperor's theme is introduced in Return of the Jedi, and it's just one of the better themes in Star Wars, although there are about 20 different Star Wars themes across all three trilogies that I could argue as the best Star Wars theme. It's that fucking good. And then it's also just like, it's the conclusion of, at that time, the most successful and the best trilogy of all time. So, anytime you move into a new trilogy, whether it be the Dark Knight trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Avengers trilogy, fucking Toy Story trilogy, there's so much influence that you can pull from Star Wars. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a really solid conclusion to this trilogy. I will never tell you I think it's as good as A New Hope or The Empire Strikes Back, but again, that's not a knock considering how both of those movies I could argue as being top 10 films of all time. So yeah, I love Return of the Jedi.
Seth?
Yeah, I mean, I when I rewatched it a couple of years ago, I probably liked it less. I rewatched it like 3 months ago, and I liked it quite a bit more actually. I think the way it flows and the ending, that whole redemption for Anakin and kind of the restoration of the balance of the galaxy, I guess, I love. I think it has one of the strongest kind of final climaxes of any like franchise film, full stop, regardless whether it's Star Wars or not. I really like the first act as well with Jabba the Hutt on Khan. Where is it?
Oh, what planet?
Yeah, the first bit. Tatooine. Yeah. With Jabba the Hutt, where they're kind of on the ship, and then Luke fights and he offers the R2D2 and C3PO as like the world to get Han Solo back and whatever. I love those sequences. full of Glup Shittos, by the way. Just anytime with
this is the most Glup Shitto of the
original trilogy. Yeah.
I'll let you give your top 10. Give me a sec.
I'm going to let you guys handle that conversation.
So many of this. Like anytime we Jabba the Hutt, a million round him. A million. It's crazy. Also, like George referenced, the point in time we spoke about earlier where we get the when Palpatine pulls up and there's kind of the huge surface of just like hundreds of stormtroopers and it's Palpatine and Vader walking together. He is just such a menacing, distinguished, horrifying figure that I think has such a presence throughout. Like even when he's not there, you kind of feel his essence and his aura, so to speak. So I love that part. I do think though the reason that Return of the Jedi drops off for me compared to the other two in the trilogy, I think the middle kind of loses itself and it's actually quite dull. The parts with the Ewoks and stuff.
Ewoks.
I just don't like care much about those sequences, and I think some of the sequences with Leia and Han feel kind of forced and rushed to me almost. I just think it kind of loses itself, and it kind of pulls into this moment of like, well, there's this bit again, where it starts and ends really, really well. I just think it's confused, and it kind of just meanders amid this Ewok section, where I just kind of find it boring, those moments, to be honest. Like, not for a grand deal. I think, in essence, this film is a good film, and I like it definitely more than I used to. But I just think that middle section for like half an hour, and we join the Ewoks, it just kind of loses itself, and it's not really of interest for me. I think it goes into more of, I said before, like George said as well, like kind of the Disneyfied merchandise aspects of it, like pushing it out there and really trying to make the Ewoks a thing, essentially. But in saying that, I think it has a brilliant start, and the eventual redemption and the return of the Jedi, that moment at the end is so incredible, and also kind of heartbreaking, when you see kind of the damage of Anakin when he kind of takes, Darth, when he takes off the helmet and stuff, really understanding that. And obviously we'll see what transpired in terms of creating that monstrosity in Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, I like it. It's definitely a step down. Like I give this on 3.5, whereas Empire 4.5, New Hope a 5. But even saying so, I think it ends really fucking well. I think the final moment is fantastic, really great.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's the lowest of the trilogy. It's a great movie, in my opinion. Still a very good movie. I really love it for what it is. I love a lot of the moments. I can't stress enough. I think this ends the trilogy in the most perfect way. Aside from one small addition that we'll talk at the end. But I think it ends the trilogy really well. Like the final moments of Vader, let me look upon you with my eyes without this mask is like fantastic. The Ewoks, are a weak part. Maybe I really like them. They're a very much a theme of a small group against the machine and how they can survive in this aspect and rise up and work together to beat the corporate cog. Basically, it's a lot of that undertones. But still really great. I love it dearly. I love the intro of being on Tatooine, seeing the goofy ass Jabba Palace, Jedi rocks. So the song at the very start, the song sung by Sny Snoodles is a very famous addition to this movie.
Sny Snoodles, what a guy. Wait, who's
I think she's a girl. She's the one with the big lips. Sny Snoodles is the one with the big lips.
Sny Snoodles is Joe Yowza's counterpart. Not counterpart.
Who's Joe Yowza? Is he the one that yells?
He's the singer.
Is Joe Yowza the one that yells?
The singer. Man, he is like, I'm not spoiling anything, but he's up there.
I think you guys are fucking with me right now.
No, these are real people.
Joe Yowza Snoodles. Right, Cam, George, when we speak about this, I need you to get the pictures on the screen, please.
Okay, I'll pull them up. Sny Snoodles, sorry, no S. Is the lead singer, but let me find her background.
How do you spell that?
It's Cy Snoodles, exactly how you would think. She dated Zero the Hutt.
No way.
Who is the nephew of Jabba. He broke up with her. She is a spy for the hot criminal cartels and a part-time bounty hunter. This is not real.
And a good singer, makes bangers,
and a great singer. Just
alongside Joe Yowza, George. J-O-H Yowza, J-O-H. The guy mixes it up a little bit with the spelling. There you go, Yowza. There you go. Max Rebo band.
That's the Max Rebo band.
That is a fucking man. I love this guy. That is a freaky specimen. Look, he did not win the genetic pool.
That's a real sicko.
Is this a nose?
It's a real sicker.
Bro, no one knows what it is. No one knows.
I think
he is like a legend in the field. Not only is he a great singer, but I think he created the like Max Rebo band with
no, Max Rebo created the Max Rebo band.
Well actually Max Rebo, which we can get up in a sec, because Max Rebo is on my list as well. Max Rebo's a legend in himself. Oh yeah, because Yowza joined with Max Rebo. Yeah, you're right. No, but Cam, who is the other guy in the band? Who's the coolest guy in the galaxy?
Is it
Droopy McCool? By the way,
Droopy
McCool is the
Droopy McCool.
Man
I have him written down. Don't you worry. I've got Droopy McCool.
He is the coolest guy with his saxophone. Wow.
He's got the sax of the Max Rebo band.
He's a sax.
Do you know what the music? Do you know what the music is called in Star Wars?
No.
It's jizz is the genre of music that they sing is jizz. The name now is Mac. It's like how they don't call Boba Fett's ship Slave One anymore. It's just Boba Fett's ship. It was Slave One. Disney, you can't change that. But they also call it the Max Rebo Band. It used to be Max Rebo and the Jizz Wailers.
I saw that.
So they're on my Glup Shitto list. But yes, he's a Yuzum performer. Joe Yowza is a Yuzum performer. So just fake words, not real things. And obviously it's a fake universe. They make this shit up, but
he goes crazy.
Yes. We can talk Jabba's palace here shortly. But just through the movie, you have the Jabba scene, you have Luke finishing his training a bit, going back, Yoda death. You then have the Ewok scene. It's interesting to see. So most people know like the fake title of Star Wars was Blue Harvest, but they did this because it was really hard to get movie like locations to sign up for Star Wars at a reasonable price, because like they knew the popularity of Star Wars. They said, if you're making a Star Wars movie, we're going to charge you this much. So they basically used the title, hey, we're making a Blue Harvest movie, and it's this random movie, and they get a reduced price. So shout out George Lucas and his financial wizardry to get the price of Star Wars down. But they said this kind of failed, obviously, when Luke, Leia, and Han showed up on set. But yes, they used Blue Harvest to get filming locations a lot cheaper than they would if they used the title Star Wars, which, great idea. Very smart. Everyone knows like Wicket. Wicket is the most famous Ewok. It's the main Ewok that does the scenes with Carrie Fisher and finds finds Leia laying down, right? Kenny Baker was supposed to play the main Ewok. I don't know what his name is. He plays R2-D2 and is in the R2 unit, but he got food poisoning day of. So they used 11-year-old Warwick Davis, who plays Wicket, which is just crazy that they like trusted an 11-year-old to like do this. Like, I don't remember how mature I was at 11, but Warwick Davis was like a huge fan of the first two Star Wars movies. They had a casting call that his aunt heard about, and Warwick Davis joined the crew as just an Ewok. And then because Kenny Baker gets sick, Warwick gets to be the main Ewok, and now Warwick is a fairly famous name, across the movie industry. And it's fascinating. Like, even at 11, he was just very smart. He was like talking about how basically his dog, he mimicked his dog a lot. When his dog would find something curious or fascinating, and like turn its head, and he was like, so that's what I did as an Ewok to like become this character. And it's just a very cool thing. But like in the documentary, it's sad to see Kenny Baker's like, I really like Carrie. I'm excited for these scenes. I was bummed I missed them. And so I feel bad for the guy for getting sick. He's like, he really likes Carrie Fisher and wanted to do the scenes with her. It's just, it's a bummer. It's a bummer that he wasn't able to.
Didn't even do it, yeah.
Obviously, yeah, you have the very iconic like fight at the end of Luke versus Vader. Luke throwing his lightsaber down, not striking down Vader and saying like, I am Jedi like my father before me. And then, Emperor Palpatine using the Force lightning, Vader picking him up and throwing him down as his like final redemption.
He returns.
They did add his no in like the 2011 re-release. And just bad, stupid addition because like he's very clearly intending throwing him. It doesn't matter. Just a very stupid addition in my opinion. Personally, George, I think you thought about it too much. What's
the other stupid addition you want to talk about?
Yeah, so after this, they have they add in a montage of everyone celebrating through the planets. That's a good addition, but they add, of course, the no, I'm trying to think. They add
not Hayden Christensen. That's not.
Give me a sec. Time out. Pause.
Pause.
I'm talking something else. They add, what's the fucking character who? Oh, I'm gonna lose my mind. Give me a second. I can't.
Who are you thinking about right now?
I have no idea.
Starts with a J. I can't even think how to describe him. Long ears. Jar Jar. Thank you. Jar Jar. They add Jar Jar's characters like throughout the end, like a planet of Jar Jar's. Naboo. They add that. They had Coruscant. But yes, then I'm sorry. I was thinking of Jar Jar and couldn't think of his name, and it was pissing me off. At the end, they add Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost, Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker, I understand he stopped the Emperor at the end and he has the redemption, but he also like blew up planets, murdered millions of people, killed many kids. Like
20 years.
I don't fully think my man is welcomed in the Force after all of this, like personally. But yeah, they have the redemption for Vader, and he gets his Force Ghost. Which
the Jedi do believe in redemption. I guess there's no line being drawn in how far.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you redeem yourself at the end, you can do whatever you want in your life. Except if your Star Wars theory, Vader would not have stood for sexual assault. Murder, A-okay, but
murder is great.
Murder fine.
All good there.
Yeah, and everything else horrific that he did, choking out his pregnant wife. A-okay, but not.
Yeah,
we can't mention assault in this franchise in Andor. But yeah, I really, really love Return of the Jedi still to this day. The Ewoks are a fun addition, and it is a child franchise. It's for children, but it's not like childish. But I personally think they work really well. Any other thoughts on Star Wars as a whole? Kind of running through. We have a deadline. It is Mother's Day, but kind of running through.
No, it is an unbelievable trilogy. It really is. Even my problems with Return of the Jedi, they're so minimal at this point that, I still confidently call this, top 2, 3, 4 trilogy of all time, including, 2 of the greatest movies ever. What's really irritating?
Getting into 4 is a frustrating. It's top 3. It's
top
1.
Top 1. Okay, top 1 trilogy of all time. But no, like I've been saying this entire episode, the documentary just gave me a newfound appreciation for this trilogy. Just going through like the production and the production woes and the production successes. I'll keep saying this. It's crazy. 1, no one died on the set of these movies, and 2, it's crazy that these movies were even made given the amount of obstacles that they encountered. But you give George Lucas a passion project, and you give him the budget to make this small indie film in Star Wars, and it turned out to be just an unbelievable success. So really good documentary. Really happy that we watched it and we talked about the original trilogy. And I know we keep saying like we're pressed for time, but we're running up 2.5 hours on this.
I could do this all day.
I know. I was going to say we could have talked A New Hope alone for 2.5 hours, but no, I'm happy we're doing this. I think it's a good idea. I'm very surprised we haven't done a Star Wars like special. I'm sure we've ranked Star Wars films, but it's crazy that we haven't done like a full Star Wars special yet.
Yep. I think we let us know how you want these breakdowns done. Like it's a lot of me talking. Let me know if you need me to shut up.
No, I want you to talk.
Yeah, we'll do the prequels, we'll do the sequels, we'll do Blue Harvest, Family Guy trilogy eventually. When we have lulls in the week, if they're super sought after, let us know. Let us know your favorite movie in the original trilogy. Seth, top 10 Glup Shittos, give them to me.
I'll be honest with you, Carmi, I only have 7.
Okay, top 7 Glup Shittos, give them to me.
7 is Cy Snootles.
Okay, yeah,
one of the best singers in the galaxy. 6 is Jack Porkins. Obviously, we get a shot of him before his ultimate demise.
Yep.
What a guy. Calling him Porkins is mental. Insane. 5 is Bib Fortuna. Does that count?
Bib Fortuna is fine. It is like I think Bib Fortuna is a bit bigger of a character.
Yeah,
but it's fine.
But he makes funny noises though.
Bib Fortuna is classic.
Yeah. George, search Jack Porkins quickly. Jack Porkins. Thank you. There you go.
Yeah,
he's cool.
Unfortunately, just a larger male, and they named him Porkins.
Well, apparently he was actually he was meant to be. They were meant to use a creature in place, but they didn't have like time or something. He just like offered himself up, and that was like
incredible.
Jack Porkins meant to be like a creature in the ship or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Where am I? 4 is Salacious B. Crumb, a classic. Like, I mean,
Salacious B. Crumb's classic. Yeah.
He's one of the main guys. Like, he is a fucking, like, what a fella he is.
He gave Anthony Daniels a panic attack because he was sitting in Anthony Daniels was sitting in his outfit, his C-3PO outfit. Salacious B. Crumb was like pulling on his eye, and he's like, this is Anthony Daniels said that's the first time he's ever felt like claustrophobic in the suit. He felt like he couldn't breathe, and so he gave Anthony Daniels a panic attack. Shout out Salacious B. Crumb.
Salacious B. Crumb, what a jester. 3 is it's Max Rebo. It's Max Rebo.
Yeah. Maximilian Rebo.
Maximilian Rebo. I mean, the creator of probably the greatest band in Star Wars history.
Rebo and the Jizz Whalers.
With his name, keyboard or whatever. Man, what a guy. Number 2 is Droopy McCool. It's Droopy McCool, number 2. The man who looks like a walking cauliflower. He is. George, go on images. You'll get something better on him. Go on images. Just wow, look at that.
He is throwing down on that.
He is. What a sax player or whatever.
It's large, sax, man.
And then 1, and this is, and it's, by the way, you know what my 1 will be, the prequels. It's going to be Orn. Yeah. But if we're talking number 2 all time, it's Joe Yowza. It's Joe Yowza. I think Joe Yowza has just a real specialty of delivering such a feeling to my heart.
Oh yes, it's good.
What a guy! Dude. What a guy! That's my 7.
A wild way to put it.
Okay, so I'll run through the ones you didn't name that I have on my list: Panda Baba and Doctor of Azan.
Oh, I remember who that is.
What did you just say? Panda.
Baba. You get Panda. It's Panda Baba. B-A-B-A.
You'll get it if you say that. You'll get it if you put that.
Ponda. Ponda. B-A-B. Yep. There you go.
He's the one in the bar.
And pick the second picture, George, with the 2. No, I'm so sorry. Second row with the 2 people. My mistake. The two people. That's the one. So that's Panda Baba and Dr. Evasan. He's the one that's like, I don't like you. He doesn't like you. And he's like, oh, sorry, man.
Me out, man. It's really weird.
Yeah. He's like, he doesn't like you. And I don't like you either. And he's like, what are you? Okay, I'm sorry, man. It's like he didn't do anything to him. He just knocks him a little and he's just getting hate. It's hilarious. You mentioned Max Rebo and the Jizz Whalers. Wilo C W-I-O L or S-L-E-E or E-A, I think. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
I don't remember it.
Dude.
Wow, that's an interesting one.
Luke gives his speeder to. This is who Luke sells his speeder to. In A New Hope, just goofy looking. Like, what is this, man? How do you even come up with that design?
Just through eyes anywhere.
Could you Google Wilro Hood for me? I'm sure this one is Wilrow Hood. Yep. So Wilrow Hood runs off from Cloud City, and he has an ice cream maker in his hand.
Yeah, this is the classic.
So in this is a very classic
this is
one.
the classic Glup Shitto. Yeah, he's such a Glup Shitto.
He's running away with an ice cream maker, so he's escaping Cloud City with that. Good for him. Search Lobot for me.
Lobot?
Lobot. Lobot. I'm not seeing you're searching. I don't know if you're on a different screen or.
I'm on a different screen. My bad.
Goof.
This guy?
Yeah, Lobot. This I just like this guy. He stands out in that background, and he just got a stupid ass computer on his head, like he's just like a cyborg for no reason. No, yeah, I wrote down his character is just Cloud City idiot. Can you Nianunb? Nianunb?
Oh, Nianunb. I forgot him. He is a classic. Yeah,
he is the Lando's side character.
He's so good.
Yeah, just a goof looking. But the actor Kip saying Rodich is just speaking. He's speaking a Kenyan language, Kikua. And so like if you speak that language, it's not actually a made up language. So some people can understand what he's saying. If you're from that Kenyan area. You may know that. And then lastly, Zev Seneca, Zevsenesca.
Why did you say that Kenyan area?
It's just a dude.
Like if you're from the Kenyan region that like speaks that language.
Oh, okay, I get you.
It's not like all of Kenya, obviously.
Yeah.
So this guy is just he's Rogue Squadron 2. And he gets killed in Hawk.
Is this Porkins' like co-pilot or like the one he speaks to?
I think so. You might be on that. I think you might be.
Cool. Yeah.
And then lastly, if you remember Biggs, apparently Biggs' last name is Darklighter. That's Biggs is obviously Luke Skywalker's friend. All right, we got to wrap up. George, sorry to keep you. I know you got family stuff. It is Mother's Day. So we have to wrap up this episode. Thank you everyone that's watched. Listened, subscribed. We really appreciate it. Thank you to those who are loving Star Wars and are happy to talk about it here. We can talk this in the Discord. Please go to the comments and comment whatever you'd like. Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the TikTok, Instagram, everything. Tell a friend. Shout out our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Cody Whitney, Cole Beaver, and Christian Cintron. We appreciate the support so much. We could not do it without you. George, Seth, thank you for coming. Tyler, we hope you're doing well, man. We appreciate you as always. It was a nice 2.5 hour discussion on Star Wars. Appreciate it as always, fellas. Love you dearly. Don't know what's coming out this week. We don't know what the Real Quick's going to be. I do know that the Patreon review is going to be Shaun of the Dead. So if you've watched that, wonderful. If you've not, check it out. And then on Friday, our Patreon review will drop. Thursday, we'll have a fun video. Don't know what it's going to be yet. Love you all. Peace. Bye.
Peace.